Welcome, welcome. How's everybody doing? For all the viewers, thank you guys for stopping by. Yet another show this Sunday. Sunday live show. Looks like a few more people are joining on Instagram. Today, once again, we're doing the show live, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter or X platform, and of course, YouTube. Hope you guys are doing well. This is the AFT Dispatch, A2C Logistics live trucking show. We do these every Sunday for about a couple hours. I don't know if we're going to run 2 hours, but today's a very special show, you guys. If you're out there in the replays after this show airs live, this is going to be a very special show. We're going to be joined today, this evening, by one of our dispatchers, one of our top dispatchers, and I would say one of the top dispatchers in the trucking industry and the truck dispatching circles. And, I would highly recommend you guys call in. You guys are going to have that opportunity. You can leave your comments in the chat. We're doing multi-streaming, so you can leave those in the other platforms. Always come back to here. We're going to be joined with Peter. Crossing my fingers that Alex will be able to join us with some good items to discuss with you guys. And as always, we're always here for you guys. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, call them in. Leave them in the comments. We see them right here in the chat. And in fact, let me make it so that all the chats are available. So we'll do live chat. There we are. Okay, fantastic. So here we are, guys. I'm going to let a few more viewers jump in so that we can have a bit of a conversation here. Let's take a look here. And as always, you guys can call in at 801-448-6363. And just hit extension 3. That'll come out right to me. We'll get you live on the show. Would love to have you guys in the show. This is the purpose of this of these videos. This is the purpose of taking a couple hours out of our day every Sunday to make sure you guys have all your questions answered, get everything taken care of. So thank you so much for Lauren McGee, Tex Williams, Marissa Grace Johnson, Dustin Lee. There's a few of you guys out here. Thank you so much for all the guys that have followed us on Facebook and all the new subscribers on YouTube, on all the followers on Instagram. Thank you guys very, very much. Just waiting for a few more people to jump in so we can get this thing covered. We're going to ask Peter to join us today a little bit earlier. So he has some plans for later this Sunday evening. So we don't want to keep him, but we do want to ask some straightforward questions. Think about some of the questions you guys want to ask. If you were asking direct questions to a very experienced, a very strong, a top dispatcher, absolutely worth the salt, amazing guy, a good human being, a good person. He's a very, very, straightforward person. So he'll be able to answer some of your questions and answer any of those things that have been on your mind, maybe that you've been trying to figure out about how to dispatch. Today's video is going to be about a few different things. I wanted to talk with you guys about fuel prices and cost management, as these are all things that are affecting truckers. Fuel is on an up and up, and cost management is a big deal. When rates are down, your gross income is down. The one thing you want to do, and you always want to do this, but you want to be able to control your operating costs. I also want to speak with you guys, of course, about diesel prices reaching record highs. That is the case. We did talk about it. A lot of people were argumentative about it, saying that that's not the case, but it absolutely is. I'd also would like to talk with you guys about finding profitable loads in a tough market. We are in a tough market, and you got to know how to get those profitable loads. How to, set yourself up for failure rather than success. How to, is a higher rate always better? Not necessarily. Is in certain market areas, are they, like for example, going into a market that's just traditionally known to not have much freight out there, is that okay to go there? It is. It depends on how much you're getting paid to go there, right? And you have to consider deadheading, some of the other market areas and what's surrounding you, the type of commodities that are available, the type of businesses, et cetera, et cetera. And that's part of what dispatch does. There's just no way that a single truck owner operator or someone who's been in business for a few years or just books a load here and there runs. You guys going to have the same type of experience and the same type of kind of a drive to be able to get the kind of loads that a strong dispatcher will be able to get for you. I also want to talk with you guys, if time permits, for trucking business management and accounting. We've written quite a bit about that and how to keep books straight. I'll show you guys software that we use, and I'll even show you guys possibly some of the, if I'm able to, some of the spreadsheets that I use and keep track of things. My CPA is very angry with me because I continue to use spreadsheets instead of QuickBooks and things like that. And he's told me years ago that my business has outgrown spreadsheets and that I need to switch over to more business software. I haven't done so, and and so he's very, very unhappy. So if you do that ahead of time, especially at the beginning of the year, and get a few things set up with some of the software that's available, it's actually going to make your life a whole lot easier. Finally, the last thing I want to talk with you guys about is becoming a truck driver a good career choice in 2024. A lot of people are covering this out there in written form on YouTube, et cetera, and we have written extensively on our blog about this. Let me see if I can show you guys this really quickly. So our blog, actually a new post just posted today, which is End This Trucking Struggle, Dispatch for Small Trucking Companies. And I'll even talk to you guys about this here. 50% of all trucking companies fail within the first 5 years of operation. 50%. 1 in 3 owner-operators leave the industry within their first year. 70% of owner-operators say dispatching was the top skill they were lacking. Hey, there's a place for us. Awesome. And 98% of experienced truck drivers say they would have benefited from professional dispatch services when they began their careers. So there you go. There's a time and a place for everything, and we're going to cover some of this stuff. I get into conversations with people who tell me, oh, you charge too much or this and that, but nobody ever asks me, well, hold on a second. This is what I'm bringing in. What do you think you guys can bring me in? And we can look at the numbers, and we can run the numbers on the percentages, the costs, and all the differentials there, and then bring it down, just water it down and see what's left at the end of the day. Are you benefiting from dispatch? The way I look at it is very, very simple. There's Peter. Let's get him on the show. Let's get him on the show here. Peter, welcome. You are our caller. How's it going?
Hello.
Hey, Peter, how are you, man?
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Fantastic.
Unfortunately, I can't hear you at all.
You can't hear me at all? Oh, well, that's...
Hello?
Yeah, you can't hear me. Okay, hold on a second. I don't know why that's happening. Hey, Adam Woods, good afternoon. I'll call you right back, Peter. I will call you right back. I apologize, guys. We've thought we had fixed these technical difficulties, but apparently we are still running into the same issues. So let's go ahead and give Peter a call back here. Get in touch with the man. Of course, my phone will not show Peter's number, so let's give him a buzz. Okay, so we're going to try it like this. Let's see here. Let's give that a shot. Sorry for that, for you guys. Adam Woods, hello, sir. Thank you for stopping by.
Hello?
Hey, Peter, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi, Peter, can you hear me? No, you can't?
Again. I can't hear you, unfortunately. I don't know what's
Okay, how about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Guys, I had to change some settings. Those of you guys on the live stream, I know there's not many of you guys. Can you hear Peter okay? Or is there making noises or anything?
Yeah, mic check.
Mic check. Fantastic. Fantastic. So... And it looks like maybe the live on Instagram may have died out. So that may or may not be working. So we'll have to figure that out later. How you doing, Peter? How are you, man?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for asking. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for joining us again. I do apologize for bothering you on a Sunday. Yeah, but a lot of people were asking a lot of these questions, and Alex and I were discussing this, and we're thinking, you know what, we gotta. Okay, cool. Adam says that he can hear you good. So thank you, Adam. I really appreciate that. It helps a ton. So a lot of people were asking a lot of questions, and we kept saying, listen, you got to talk to dispatch about that. And that's why you're getting a lot of phone calls from people who are asking you direct questions who are not actually customers. So I thought, let's get Peter on the line. And, I think you were going to cover some of the questions about, some of the things that you wish carriers and owner operators would do differently or would do better or in other ways when working with you as a dispatcher. So I'll leave the floor to you, my friend. Guys, if you have questions, anything at all, please drop them in the chat here, and we'd love to hear from you.
Well, it's a really tough market, as you said. It's so as of right now, I can't ask too much, from the carriers or from the owner operators. So right now, I just want them to be understanding that the market is not in a great place. That we are doing our best, to keep them in business, and just trust the dispatcher, because we are looking on those boards 10, 11 hours per day, and sometimes you got to take a loss in order to win big. And a lot of the new carriers that are coming in, they want every single load to be discussed. But unfortunately, on this market, you can't discuss about it too much, because, there are a few areas that if you are on the phone with the broker for 10 seconds or 15 seconds or 30 seconds, the load is already gone. So that question, hey, what do you think about this load? Or, in my opinion, those are for new dispatchers and newbies, that, the drivers don't trust the dispatcher, and, they want to hear the options. But unfortunately, as of right now, the best weeks and those high numbers, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 per week, were with the drivers that are, hey, do your thing, I'm going to drive. I think this is the only thing I have to ask the drivers and the carriers. Just please trust us, because we are doing this for a long time. And sometimes you got to take the loss in order to. Let me give you an example. In order to go in a market that you can get a over $2.50 per mile load, for example, you have to go there with $1.70 or $1.80 or $1.50 worst case scenario. If you know for sure you're going to find something good out of there. But that's I guess the only thing. And also, who wants to earn more money must be aware that the loads that are requiring the extra thing, multi-picks, multi-drops, going in not the greatest areas or not the best road conditions, or the heavy loads, or, things that require something extra, and paid a bit more, or give us the power to negotiate with the broker, because, yeah,
absolutely.
So, that's what I would say as of right now.
Well, I wanted to ask you also something. One of our customers, he's awesome guy, Tex. He's always in the comments sharing about how much we, a lot of our dispatchers bring us more Tex, bring us more guys like Tex. Absolutely, and some of the toughest folks to get a hold of. Good people are hard to find. And one of the things that Tex and I were discussing, and I've discussed this with other people, were vent advance. Currently is the season for vent advance. So I would think that such an inexpensive upgrade is going to help. How do you feel about that? Vent advance.
In my opinion, every single vent should be a vent advance, because when you don't need it, you can close the vents and just, haul regular dry stuff, and you have a regular dry vent. But when you need it, and let's say 2 or 3 times a year for a month or a month and a half, it can bring you reefer rates. And well, on this market, reefers and vans are kind of the same thing, rate-wise, but there are those couple of months a year that you can really boost your income. I mean, at the end of this month, the flower season should start in Florida. I'm seeing nursery loads out of Pacific Northwest, and unfortunately, you can't haul it in a regular dry van. Vegetables out of California, out of Pacific Northwest. In autumn, you have pumpkins for Halloween. So, yeah, there are a couple of months a year that is really worth it to have a vented van. But and yeah, the rest of the year you can use it as a dry van. So that small investment, you can recover it within one load. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I 100% agree with you. In fact, we actually had an interesting text conversation with Tex. And let me see if I can, it's going to be a little too much to see if I can find him. But he brought up something interesting. He went and got his trailer vented. And that's awesome. Good on him for doing that. And what he warned me about was that the industry standard is to have them way up at the top of the trailer. And that's what they did based on industry standards. They installed it. But now the question is, how do you close those vents? They're clear to, at the very top of the trailer. So those of you guys who are going to get your trailers vented, your dry vans vented, it's okay to have your vents lower so you can reach them and close it, because you don't want to be in a situation where your vents are open and then you're going through, in the springtime, you got some spring showers and water's getting in there and ruining product and you can't reach it and everything's slippery and you have no way to get up to the top and close it. So you may want to consider, putting those lower, even though it is not considered an industry standard, but it's a lot more convenient. Yeah, awesome, man. Very good stuff. Alex is with us also. I'm pretty sure Alex might have some questions for Peter. I know you guys communicate all the time, and so do I, but I want to see, maybe Alex got some questions for Peter, and Alex was also our dispatcher for a very long time, and they know each other quite well. So jump in. What do you think, Alex? And hello.
Yeah, so hello, everybody, and hi, Peter. Nice to see you.
Hey, Alex.
Yeah. Me and Peter we've been colleagues for a really long time, with the good and the bad, with all the years, with all the with all the thing. But one thing that I actually wanted to ask Peter live, just so it clarifies a little bit for people that might come to us in future, might want to work with us in future, and so go on. Peter, I want to ask you, what do you think are like the main three things that you see as like very, very good things to be booked, let's call it that, other than the age of the MC, of course? Like top three qualities of a carrier.
Top three qualities. Well, lately, those three things have changed a bit because lately the brokers are trying now to, I don't know what they are trying, but the requirements from them are just getting crazier and crazier.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, I heard brokers that they are not setting up new carriers. I mean, you can be even 2 years in the business, but there are, let's say, 5 brokers that they are not setting up any more new carriers. They all want inspections, so that's a really good thing to have. Even if you are not stopped by the DOT on the side of the road, go and get your inspection, because for us to have those papers, it really helps a lot, because the broker can say, hey, I don't see any inspection, but here you go, I have the papers, check them out, the truck is inspected. So that's one thing. The other thing, now, as I said before, there are brokers that they are not setting up new carriers, but also the brokers that they were setting up carriers with, let's say, 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months of experience. They raised it to like a year, or the brokers that were setting up carriers at a month, they now require 6 months. So a carrier with experience have a bit of an advantage over the carriers with no experience. And also the third thing, it's again, the willingness to work the extra hours or to pick up at, like 9, 10 p.m. late times and deliver at 1, 2, 3 a.m. You can, I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
For, the loads that are a bit more difficult to get them done. So, but as a carrier, get your truck inspected and your equipment inspected.
Another long haul.
And yeah, get your permits. It's really important to have the permits because sometimes a really good load can pop up going somewhere and you don't have a permit for that state, and then it's complicated.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Because I wanted actually to present a scenario. Let's say one of the gentlemen that come to us, let's say he has like 2 years of MC and he has inspections and everything, and he calls me, for example, or calls Vitaly, says, "Hey, I really saw those videos that Vitaly puts on YouTube, and I saw those big numbers." I remember we
Yeah.
actually talked because I consult myself with you a lot in terms of pricing, and I always ask you, can we do those numbers because you're much more like on date and on everything with the numbers and with the rates that are right now. Uh, what what are the main three things that that carrier should 100% do to get the same amount of money that our top guys do?
Well, so the carriers that I have, so the drivers that I have that are doing the best numbers, as I said at the beginning of the conversation, is they just tell me, you do your stuff and I just drive. They are doing a lot of miles. Now it depends what the carrier wants, because there are some carriers that they want $4,000 or $5,000 per week, but they want at least $2.50 per mile average. And there are the carriers that they are looking for the gross, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 per week. But as the miles go up, the rate per mile goes down. I mean, the willingness to do a lot of miles, because if you drive like 600 miles per day in 7 days, that's a lot of miles.
That's 4,200 miles.
Over 3,000 miles, and if you average like $2.20 per those miles, there you go. You have $7,000 per week at least. So yeah.
So basically, one is to either one of the main requirements would be that the owner, when it comes, and the driver, when it comes, to know what he wants, basically.
Yeah.
Exactly what he wants. Because I don't want to say names, but we had carriers that they came working with us. They said, hey, I was doing on average $5,500 per week. Okay, I want at least that. And we were making them 6,500, 7,000, 7,500, almost 8,500. And every single week, their requirements were higher and higher and higher and higher. But unfortunately, the market doesn't help us at all. So just have some really... so the carrier must have some realistic
expectations.
Goals. And expectations, of course.
Absolutely.
Because
And the
if
last
somebody
thing I wanted to ask you,
working with us
would actually,
and they want 10,000 every single week, unfortunately, that's not possible on today's market. 2 years ago, that was a whole different story. But right now, yeah. And there are also carriers that, hey, I'm not going west, or I'm not going to
East, or New York,
New England, or I don't want to drive in this particular city. I mean, yeah, it's possible. Of course, I can look for roads like that. I can concentrate the carrier in a specific area, or if the carrier wants to do local runs, no problem, we'll do local runs. But let's say 1 or 2 weeks out of the month, there can be good weeks because the market is extremely volatile as of right now. There are days that you can't. It's really hard to get out of Chicago with $2 per mile, in which Chicago is considered a powerhouse for the trucking industry. And at any time of the day, there should be loads out of Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
But there are days that it's really, really hard to find that $2 per mile out of Chicago, even going east, which is unbelievable. So the ability of the carrier to shape shift, let's say that, hey, this week we are working in South, next week we are going and concentrate of the Northern Midwest. In 2 weeks we are going East Coast, then we are going West Coast, then we stay in the Rocky Mountains. So the ability of, changing the markets and just focus on what's hot at this moment, because this week, Fargo, North Dakota can have a lot of good rates. But next week, you can find only $1.30 out of Fargo, North Dakota. So the willingness to change markets and not stay in your comfort zone, it's something that can bring you a lot of money and keep you in business.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that Peter touched on that I wanted to kind of come back on, I wanted to make sure not to forget. He said, get your permits. Make sure you have your permits. Guys, there is no excuse for you guys not to have those permits. They're easy to get. They're inexpensive, sometimes nearly free. They open up opportunity. And if you're a carrier that's new with a new MC, don't you want to open up as many possibilities as humanly possible, considering that a huge portion of the industry is not willing to work with you? So do that. Now, I will tell you this, and we've been talking about this forever. We have an email that was put together years ago that I've been sending it out to you guys free of charge, no cost. Just text us with your name and email address and just maybe briefly say, hey, I'd like that, email with the permits or whatnot. In that email, super useful for new carriers and other aged MCs as well. If you don't have your permits, it'll show you how to get those permits. You don't have to pay someone to do it. And in that email, there's going to be a 4-page PDF giving you all the questions and answers for your new entrant audit. If you're in business less than 1 year, you probably haven't gone through your new entrant audit. It is the most important audit, so you want to pass that. In that one email, you're going to get directions on how to get all your permits, or nearly all. I don't have Connecticut in there yet. And your new entrant audit. Take care of those things. We don't charge any money for it. I had a gentleman who contacted us about it. I said, hey, I can't really help you. You're a new MC, et cetera, et cetera. Let's get some information. But in the meantime, let me send you the stuff. You can work on it. People feel that I'm here to sell them something. I don't. It's free. If you guys don't want to get a hold of it, that's fine. I'm completely okay with it. But if you guys want to get the permits, if you want to improve your chances, if you want to pass your new entrant audit, if you want to benefit yourself, your company, then send a text or give us a call or get in touch with Alex. We all have the ability to send those emails out. It's really not hard, and we already made those. So, but if you guys don't move forward towards that end, then what's the point? Peter can sit here and talk till he's blue in the face. It won't move anything. I wanted to say hello to Sushant Babaj. Hello to Nathan Eberly. And Sushant was saying that he was doing around $6,000 pre-booking all of his loads. You can't do that anymore, you guys. Not in this market. You can't pre-book loads. In fact, let's actually ask Peter. How do you feel about that? Like, let's say I'm a customer who's like, listen, man, every dispatcher I ever worked with, he's always pre-booked loads for me, and we've always done very, very well, et cetera, et cetera. So this is how I want to operate. What do you say to that? Pre-booking loads, every single load, pre-booking it.
It depends.
Yeah.
Also, there are sometimes it's good to pre-book a load. Let me give you an example. I'm sending today, it's Sunday, but let's say I booked a load on a Wednesday going to Florida. Let me give you an example. Thursday, I'll start already looking for that reload from Florida for Monday. The chances are really small for me to find something out of Florida that is paying good. But if I see something that it's really good for Florida market, I'm going to book it on Thursday for a Monday reload.
Yep.
So it depends. If you find something really good, then yeah. But the chances are that on the spot market, if you work on the spot market, the chances are that a day before or like the same day are the best chances to find actually something good, because you can find that broker or that facility or that customer that needs an empty truck right now. And then if you have that truck there, you can squeeze some more money out of them, or you can find it posted at a better rate, but also depends on where the truck is located. So it all depends. From a good market, it's a really good thing to not pre-book your loads. But in a bad market, you can start looking ahead. So it depends. It depends. But even from a good or a bad market, you can pre-book a load a week or 2 weeks in advance, because you are not sure what's going to happen with that truck. And also, if you cancel loads on today's market, you give the broker reasons to put a bad comment under your MC. So when the market is bad, I don't know, something happens to the brokers, and I'm sorry for using this, but they are turning in some scumbags. I'm sorry. But they can just report the carrier for, I don't know, for nothing.
Just about nothing, yeah.
So, and the simple fact that you are canceling a load and you don't have some really, really good arguments that why are you canceling these loads, it can, and if you pre-book a lot of trips in advance, I mean, God forbid, but the truck can break down, or I don't know, a receiver is keeping you for 6 hours there, or something can happen that you can miss the next load, and you woke up with a bad, or that broker never wants to book with you anymore, then unfortunately we don't have the power in this period.
Sushant's got jokes. He said when you said that, you were trying to be nice and said, brokers are kind of, doing all sorts of odd things in a bad market. And Sushant did not mince words. He said it's called broker hormonal imbalance. BHI.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to actually to open a little bit of subject, because you properly told that you cannot really book in advance properly because the whole marketing how it is, and brokers can put you on a DNU do not use list, and so go on. We had I'm properly same as Peter. I'm not going to give any names, but we had actually some people that came to us and expected to have the load on point, like as soon as you're empty to head for the next one.
For the next, yeah.
Yeah. So we explained them already why it's not possible to pre-book it, so you can do that probably because you might get kept over at the receiver and so go on. But there is also the case, because there are the starters that have like 3 or 4 or 5 months of MC, and sometimes they're gonna have to sit. Peter, in average, more or less, let's say a carrier with 3 months of MC, he just surpassed his 90 days. If he's in a not such a good market, not a bad market either, how much it takes to find actual good load?
Well,
Let's say in
with
Georgia.
those carriers, it's it depends. With the new carriers, I always explain them that please consider doing some deadhead. I extend my deadhead range, and just first of all, me personally, I'm working with, let's say, like 10 big brokers or like 10 brokers that I'm working for years, the same guys. So when I bring them a carrier, I kind of put my word for that carrier.
Yeah, put your neck on the line.
That broker is willing to give me the load for that newer carrier, for example. And the new carriers, I'm trying to book with, let's say, more or less like 10 brokers, like 10 principal brokers that, hey, I'm going to book 90% of your roads are going to be with this 5 or 10 brokers that I have. Sometimes they are giving me the load list before they are posting them on the ATO truck stop or on their So I have I can choose from the loads before they are going posted.
Yep.
So that is a huge advantage on this market, because when, if you see a light load with flexible times, and that load is going to fly first. When it hits the DAT board, in 30 seconds, that load is gone. So that is the advantage of having a good relation with some of them brokers. And a new carrier, to answer your question, Alex, well, a new carrier, I try to pre-book him a day in advance, so he won't sit. But if he has to sit, then yeah, worst case scenario, a couple of hours
let's
or
say,
a
for
day,
example, he
or
starts with
let's say
us,
in
let's say
7
Monday
days,
morning.
2 days.
You give him a call and you talk with him. And how much would it take to actually find him a load, like on the day, on the spot?
Well, it can take 10 seconds. It can take
All
7
day.
hours.
Yeah.
I mean,
you
on
never know.
average.
On average, let's say 1 hour.
So minimum 1 hour.
A minimum
In
1
average.
hour. Yeah.
What do you guys feel
And
about? I
you can be
know.
lucky and find that perfect load in 30 seconds, but
Yeah,
you can be unlucky and just
but
spend your whole day calling on 50 loads, and yeah, no luck.
No,
I
you're
guess,
absolutely
or-
right. I know that. I know that one of the issues that we ran into in the past, and it seems like that only gets worse as the markets decline, is that when you
Yeah.
pre-book loads, a lot of brokers will resell that load to another guy, make a margin on it, and then they don't tell you, the dispatcher or the carrier who's actually initially sold on that load. That carrier heads out to the shipper just to find out that the load's gone, or it's not there, or whatever might be the case. Then the carrier calls us. You, as the dispatcher, gets in touch with the broker and, hey, buddy, what's going on here? Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't let you know, but that the customer actually canceled this load. But you're a great guy, so I'm going to give you a truck order not used for $150. And thanks for wasting your hours and your day and your fuel and all your nerves and aggravation that comes with it. But here's $150. Go live it up. So one of the problems that we've seen was that in declining market conditions, brokers are much more apt to resell the loads for an additional margin.
Yeah.
And they're willing to give you that $150 tonu because they made a whole bunch of more money on top of that and reselling that load at a cheaper rate. Is that something I know that we ran into that. How are things now with the market? I know that we're still in a bad time.
Well, this thing is more probably to happen if you book a load with a broker that you never worked before.
Okay.
If you have a good relationship with that particular broker or customer, the chances of this happening they are
pretty low,
100%
right?
or 90%, less.
That's good to know.
I mean, if you know that guy, if you're working with that broker for 2 years, let's say, let's give you an example with Kyle. He doesn't want to rip me off or to do
Kyle's awesome.
bad things to that player.
Years of working with him.
And, so it happens a lot if you are booking the first load with that particular broker, and you can after a long period of doing this job, you can hear in his voice that, hey, this guy is sketchy, or hey, and then to avoid this, I have to call the shipper, in advance and give him the pickup number, and so it's on this market, it's 2 or 3 times more work for the same or less results. So in order to avoid this, but now a lot of brokers, they are saying it from the beginning, hey, you cannot call the shipper, or hey, you cannot. Why?
Part of the agreement.
So they are they have an agreement that if you call the shipper and they find out, minus $300 from the rate or stuff like that. I've seen it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what I'm trying to do is, because it happened before, the carrier got to the shipper, the load is gone, and then a day wasted for $150.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. But
Absolutely.
in order to avoid this, I have to call the shipper, before the truck goes there. Hey, I have this load picking up from your place, this pickup number.
Is the load available? Mm-hmm.
I'm calling them. Yeah, I mean, no, I'm trying to find different reasons. Hey, can I pick it up earlier? Or, hey, I'll be 3 minutes late, or whatever reason. But,
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that load is there in order to not waste my entire day and the truck's day. So, yeah, well, it happens. But, yeah, I guess that's the risk of doing this business, I guess.
Sushant,
Nice, Sushant.
yeah, Sushant Babach says today he's taking his first load with us, going from Pennsylvania to West Virginia. The guys are running them. Absolutely wonderful, man. I'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for that. That's cool. Guys, we're not going to have Pete. We don't always have Peter available. I mean, once Monday hits, this guy's going to be busy booking loads. I try not to bother the guys on the weekends because they have a very, very difficult job, very busy schedule. So we're not going to have Peter on the phone for much longer. If you guys have any questions specifically for Peter, this guy is something else. I specifically don't listen to his phone call recordings because I'm afraid of what he might be telling these brokers, because I don't know what else to tell you, how this guy gets the rates that he gets, how he manages to get an amazing load out of Florida going to Illinois. And when that load falls through in the middle of the day towards the end of the market, he ends up somehow manages to get a better load for the carrier, going to a worse market, but knowing Peter is going to get him out of there, this coming Monday. So you guys have the benefit of having this guy on the phone. He's very, very strong. He's very, very good at what he does. Dispatching, he understands the market, and this is the reason why we asked him to join us here on the call, because I know a little bit about trucking, Alex knows a little bit about trucking, and Peter knows a little bit about trucking, and together, we know a little bit more than your average guy. So, pardon me. This is the reason I want to. If you have any questions, please type them in. Because we're going to let Peter go. He's got some plans for this Sunday evening, and I certainly don't want to be the reason that he misses that out. So good on you, Sushant. Keep running with the guys. Give them an opportunity. Let them book you. Untie their hands. Let go of the reins a little bit. And I'm sure that we're going to be able to get you to the kind of numbers that you're looking for. We worked with you before. We know that you're an awesome guy, and I'm definitely glad to see you back. A lot of people that I go through my list and I try to contact them, I'm having Alex get in touch with a lot of folks. And sometimes out of a list of 25, you might have 23 to 24 that have already gone out of business. Guess what, guys? We worked with them in the past, then they went on their own way and it just couldn't do it. You got to understand that dispatch has to earn their keep. And this is where I'm so happy to say that we do earn our keep. Our customers generally make more money, do it with less effort, run more efficiently. And the reason for it is because of dispatch, but also their own behavior, that, they trust the dispatcher. So a lot can be said about this, but I just want to say, trust your dispatcher, understand that you got them for a reason, be teachable, be coachable, be open-minded, and let go of the reins a little bit. You got a dispatcher to help you out. I'll never understand those customers who go through all the paperwork, getting set up with us, having, hours of conversations, making plans, getting ready for that Monday for their first load, and then never pick up the phone. Or never provide the factor logging credentials to be able to run credit checks. Never respond to or folks that you get a code or something like that so we can fill out a packet, go up to your cell phone, then we hear back from you guys in 2 hours and say, well, how about that load? Well, what do you think? That load's been waiting for you for 2 hours. You're not even set up with them. We were hoping for the best. So there you are. Peter, Matthew W. has a question for you. He says, where is the best markets now?
Oh, that's the most difficult question as of right now, because we don't even know where are the best market. This week depends what kind of equipment you have.
Thanks, Matt.
That's the first question. In the last week, I saw an increase of freight in Northern California.
Okay.
Which is not great usually. I've also seen an increase of freight in the northern parts of Midwest, like Fargo, North Dakota area, Green Bay, Wisconsin, northwest of Minneapolis, and there are like a few patches in south or like around Memphis, Tennessee. You can get some good rates, but it's really hard because this week. I just told you about Fargo, North Dakota. This week or 2 weeks ago, we were able to get from Fargo for a reefer.
Yeah, he runs a reefer.
$5,000 to Georgia, for example. And this week, or like on Friday, I just checked the market out of Fargo, North Dakota, and it was really hard to get $2 per mile out of Fargo, in which 2 weeks ago they were paying $3.50. So as of right now, the markets change like almost on a daily basis. So this is why I was saying that it's really important for a carrier to shift the markets. So to not be stuck, hey, I'm driving only in Midwest, because it comes that day when you have to cross the Rockies, or when you have to go to Wyoming, or when you have to go to New Mexico, if you want to stay profitable. And from New Mexico, you have to go in some other places, in not to get the $1 per mile load out of there. So it's really hard to say where is the good market. You just have to follow the freight and the load per truck ratio.
Even if you know the good market, you have to triangulate it properly in order to make the good amount of money. Because even if you go, let's say,
now it's really hard to try to do a triangle. Now you have to do an octagon.
Yeah, that's funny. Here's
for example, let's say a reefer, because right
really
now
hard to do a
is the
triangle
season
right
out
now.
west.
The geometry of trucking must shape shift, or not even.
Yeah.
They didn't invent it, the shape.
Yeah.
In order to stay in profit. But yeah, I don't know. Where is the good market? I really don't know where to say. I mean, almost every single state,
Coin toss.
besides Florida and a couple more, almost every single state has a lane that pays good.
Good evening, Jason.
You have to, even if you're in Colorado, you have to go to Montana, and from Montana, we have to pray to God both. And but you can go to California for decent money, and from there we go some other places. So yeah, with the strong carriers that I have in the past, let's say 3 months, there was not a similar week one to another. I mean, this week we were on West Coast, then the next week we were in Midwest, then the next week we were in South, and I'm switching markets in order to do those numbers. So yeah,
that's one thing.
Unfortunately, yeah.
That's one thing I'm going to jump in. I'm going to kind of, sorry to cut you off there. I want to go ahead and bring it up, this one aspect of dispatching. So that's one thing that I actually talk to folks a lot. And I honestly believe in this. When dispatchers are sitting in front of computers, they're going, especially an experienced dispatcher, you guys are actually seeing the market shift live as you see the rates moving around different commodities.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that dispatch can do with experience is be able to get a guy out of a certain market and into a different market before it goes hot. So, so that way you're leaving for good money, you're arriving there, you're in a good market. By that time, you can leave out of there for really good money. And hey, Alex, thank you so much for that. This is my favorite dispatch company. Thank you so much. And so it really pays to have a strong dispatcher, because that's where the difference is made, because everyone's looking at, rate view and all this other data that's not really correct. You have to have your feelers out there. You have to be talking to brokers. You have to be looking at different markets, and you have to be talking to brokers to get an idea of what's moving, what's changing, how are things going. You have to understand seasonality and different times of year, different commodities. There's so much that goes into it, and literally the difference can be made when your dispatcher knows that, hey, it looks like that market over there is warming up. Now, coming out of here, going there, generally that's not a very good market, so I know I'm going to get a really good money. But since I know that market's warming up, by the time that the customer gets there, we're going to definitely get them something really, really good, and we're going to get them a much better average, because now you're actually, the way I refer to it, is milking the market, right? You're getting the very most out of the market. So there is a time and a place to learn, and I completely understand that. But if you can't afford to make the kind of mistakes that would put you out of business, then I would say learn other aspects of the business. Maybe learn the accounting side, learn the industry, learn the compliance and the safety side, the mechanics of things, but allow your dispatcher to dispatch you, because you have one source of gross revenue. And if you cut that out, who cares that you know how to fix the truck? Who cares that you know where to get the cheapest fuel? Who cares that you know that bananas are coming out or flowers are coming out of Florida? It doesn't matter, because if you're leaving money on the table, you're eventually going to, you're going to drop out. So a really good example is a broker gives you $2.25 to go to Miami, but you're bringing water down there and it's hurricane season. You know you're going to get stuck there, and that's not enough money. But a lot of people will take it because they say, well, the average going rate right now is $1.35 and I'm getting $2.25. That's much better. Let's go over there and we'll figure it out when we get there. No, you won't figure it out. It's hurricane season. No. Everyone's heading over there. They're bringing water for a ton of money. And now your only option is going to be either take a crappy load that may not even be worth the backhaul cost of fuel, or come out of there for free. And where are you going to go? You're going to go to Georgia, most likely. And where else is everyone else going? To Georgia. So it's okay to do that, but allow your dispatcher to take out the most amount of money so that it can make sense, because you're going to know ahead of time that you're going to be in a bad spot. Now, one other thing I'm going to jump into, Matthew was saying that he does, don't go west of Denver, the mountains over there, basically saying that the freight doesn't pay more and the equipment is working harder. I do understand, because I'm in Utah, so I do understand. I go through Wyoming. I used to drive all the time to Nebraska, not in the wintertime, and all sorts of areas. I've been to, Colorado many times, and I do agree that, obviously heavy freight going up and down mountains and all those things are going to, beat up your equipment more, fuel economy goes down, and so I do understand that. But again, you have to account for, where am I leaving? Where am I going? What's the rate? And what am I waiting for out of the market I'm going to be reaching? And if the outbound rate there is not good enough, then don't do it. But if you are getting paid really well, and you know that mountains are going to burn up a lot of fuel and beat up your truck, account for that, but also account for what's waiting for me there when I finally arrive. It's okay to go to mountain states. It's okay to go to the western states. It's completely fine. You just have to make sure you're paid right. Now, another question that Matthew asked was, what is a normal dispatch fee? So there is no such thing as a normal dispatch fee. When I had started out, there was a gentleman out in Idaho who was dispatching before I got into the business. He's an older gentleman, and he would take very small amounts. Like this was like, I think 11 or 12 years ago, if not longer. He would take $50 for a load under X amount of dollar gross. He would take a higher dollar amount. He would take, so he wasn't making, I think the most he ever made on a load was $150 flat rate. Then there was other guys out there who, operate out of, out of their homes or out of other countries, and they might be charging 3%, 3.5%, stuff like that. But here's the thing. You guys wouldn't believe how many customers have come to us over the years. I've lost count that have went to these cheaper dispatching services, got beat up, lost a ton of money, burnt their MC, lost their reputation, did all this stuff, and then they happily come to us and pay twice as much money. And then they do the math and they're like, dude, I'm paying you twice as much money, yet I'm grossing and netting more money, and you guys know what you're doing. So at that point, it clicks. But the thing is, most people are like, oh, no, we're not going to do this. See, like we charge 7% for dispatch, 7% flat rate. Back in the day, I used to charge 10%. I only lowered it to 7% 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, when when all these dispatchers popped up and nobody wanted to hear about that. So we went down to 7. But the truth is, I've seen guys at 3.5%, 4%. I've seen it. But I've also seen the results of their work. That's the whole thing. So you get what you pay for.
Good example.
Yes, sir, please.
There was probably a carrier that worked with us. They had 4 trucks when they started with us. This was a good couple of years ago. And when they quit it with us, they also bought 2 new trucks, because they were telling us that they want to buy 2 new trucks and so go on. probably when they bought him, they left us. They went in with another distributor, and probably like 1 month ago,
Thanks,
I
Matt.
gave them a call just to see a little bit how they're doing. And I asked them, do you guys still work with that dispatch company that you found with 4%? Oh, yeah. And how many trucks do you have right now? One.
Yep. Yep.
But the proudness in them, but we are doing fine.
Yeah. Sure. Absolutely.
And to answer properly, because you brought up the thing that Matthew said, don't go to West Denver Mountains, don't pay more. Basically, you're half correct. Properly, as Peter said earlier, this week your statement might be correct. Next week you might be completely wrong because the market is so volatile that for example, out of Oregon, you can get this week a nursery load that will pay you $350 a mile, and next week you might got out with $150.
Yeah.
So you're 100% right, but depends on a week.
I'm going to jump in and I'm going to say this. We've kept Peter here considerably longer than I promised him. I certainly appreciate it. I think this was a fantastic call. Peter, thank you so much, but I don't have the heart to keep you longer than the 47 minutes you've spent with us on our live show today. This was supposed to be a lot shorter. So I do apologize. Just tell whoever's waiting for you that it's all my fault. And
I will.
I will.
Don't worry.
You're awesome, Peter.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate
the
it.
rest of your Sunday, and God bless you all.
Thanks a lot, man.
Bye-bye.
Really appreciate it, Peter.
Thanks, Peter. Bye-bye.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so he's off the line there. Matt saying that the fuel is more expensive in the West as well. Here's the thing, Matt. You know what I've seen is I've heard that like the Northeast, New York, especially New Jersey, parts of Pennsylvania, there's almost like a fuel mafia there because it seems that people, and those of you guys who know what I'm talking about, chime in the chat there. Have you guys ever noticed that you fill up a full tank, for example, out in Jersey and then get like 30% less miles out of it? And it's not because of heavy freight or mountains or headwinds or any of that, because there really is a very strong control over fuel in the Northeast. Won't get into the details of that, but over the years, we've seen a lot of people chime in and say, look, I filled up in Jersey. It's like water just going out, So the quality of fuel can also vary. And you might get a lot less bang for your buck at a lower cost. Not to say that if you pay a premium that you're going to get better fuel, but I know for sure over the years, I've heard a lot, and even my brothers told me when he ran OTR over the last several years in the past when we started, he would notice that anytime he filled up in a Northeast, extreme Northeast, that fuel never really went too far. You
don't have to fuel up out of West. Like, let's say you're doing Midwest to Cali. If you go to Cali, fuel up in Texas. If you go to north side of Cali, you fuel up in Oklahoma. It's same, it's pretty cheap. If you go to Oregon or Washington, you fuel up in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Wyoming has pretty decent prices. Also, you can fuel up in Kansas. You can fuel up in Kentucky. Kentucky is pretty decent too.
Yep.
So you don't have to fuel up there. And basically, you fill up completely the tank.
Mm-hmm.
You can go there, unload, come back, and by the time you come back, you have to refuel again.
Yeah. So absolutely, yeah. There's ways to play around this, and that's part of it. You guys, you have to focus on that. Fuel prices, they're reaching record highs. We've talked about this. I mentioned we're going to cover this at the beginning of the video, that they're hitting record highs. Now, I talked about this in previous videos, and the majority of comments were like, "Man, fuel prices are going down. They're not going up." Again, we come back. Macro versus micro. If you look at things from a micro aspect, you're going to say, fuel from yesterday went up by 5 cents. Fuel from 3 days ago went down by 3 cents. But what you got to do is look, pull out further out and say, what has been what's the view of fuel pricing over the last 6 months, over the last year, and then you're going to be able to chart that and be able to look at it, and then only then are you going to be able to say, you know what? Fuel is coming up. Because sometimes what happens is that kind of like when we raise fuel prices and then we drop them 30% and say, look at that, we lowered fuel price by 30%. Well, not really. When fuel was, when gasoline was $1.99 in March of 2020, 4 years ago, and now the average is like closer to $4, that's, that's 100% increase, right? So if you drop it by 30%, we're still overpaying 70% of the total cost. So that's not really something to write home about. And Matthew says that the quality of fuel was not as good in certain places in the Northeast, which is very important. My buddy said that diesel was $4.31 in Pennsylvania and $3.68 in Kansas. There you go. So kind of what Alex had brought up earlier, that you can fill up in different places. And you're absolutely right. The Northeast fuel, it seems to be of lower quality. And I've noticed that. And, I know that there are no, like you have your 85 gas, your octane levels and stuff like that, 91, whatever it might be, 89, 88, 87 fuel, 93 fuel in California. We don't have that with diesel. So we really don't have a way to be able to look at quality. I mean, I'm sure there are, but it's just not us everyday folks can be able to, put something in a tank and tell you the quality of the fuel. And I think that's part of the reason that we see these types of the discrepancies between one place and another. So yeah, I mean, it just really depends. Plus, use your fuel cards, guys. Use your fuel cards and teach your drivers, those of you guys who have company drivers that work for you, most company drivers, they could be great people, but they don't really care about your fuel consumption. They don't really care about your fuel savings. It's not their truck. It's not, not my monkeys, not my circus. You know what I mean? So it's not their truck. It's not their fuel. It's not their money. And so they'd love to go to Love's, get points, get free showers, get free soda pop, but that's costing you hundreds of dollars every single month or day or whatnot, hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on when you fill up. So it can cost a lot. One thing you can do is get yourself a few different cards, get your drivers some login information, let them log into it. Let them, when they type in their pickup, their pickup is going to be automatic from GPS, but when they put in their destination, they're going to have the route, right? So have them do the same exact thing on the fuel application. They already knows where they're at. Put in a destination, and then cut it out and say, okay, I have, let's say, 2,200 miles to run or 1,700 miles to run, but today I'm going to run 600 miles. Okay, then don't put in, where are you going to end up in about 600 miles? Put in that as your destination on your fuel app, and then look at the cost of fuel there. What you will often find is that you might have 343 here and 368 across the street. Well, you might as well go, maybe drive a quarter mile, a half a mile down the road. You see it on your application and get the fuel at a 30-cent discount. 200 gallons, there's your savings. And then to your driver who did that for you, give him a piece of that action. Hey, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it. You saved me a ton of money. This month, you've saved me $600 in fuel. Here's $250 as a fuel saving bonus. Thank you so much. They're going to like you. They're going to perform really well. They're going to try to save on fuel. They're going to try to save you on money. And they're going to say, you know what? I don't care about the free showers and the free soda pop. I'll spend the 99 cents and get me a drink or whatever. I'll pay for the shower or whatever might be the case. Because at the end of the day, every month I'm making an extra $200, an extra couple $100, $300, $400, whatever might be the savings. There are major differentials in fuel price. And you can save on that, but you have to be proactive about it and actually have to teach and train your drivers to do so. And Matthew continues by saying that Ohio is cheaper, but if you run more miles in Pennsylvania, you're going to pay because IFTA is more expensive. You're absolutely right. So IFTA is very expensive in Pennsylvania. And you guys can get the rate sheets and you can figure out where they are. Plus, some states will have, hey, there he is. There's Falcon. Good to see you, man. Thank you for stopping by. So yeah, IFTA is a big deal, and you can get the rate sheets and figure that out. Plus, there are some surcharges. So some states, like I think Indiana is one of the states that has fuel surcharges, so you should account for that. Oregon, you got to have permits in order to be even fill up there. You know what I mean? So there are different states, and there are different reasons to go to places and not go to places. Sometimes in Oregon, I straight up used to tell the brokers, look, man, they're charging me an additional 39 cents a mile, whatever might be the case. I can't do that, man. There's, we're going to drive this much. We're going to have to come back out. You got to pay me. And if you don't know these things, brokers aren't going to bring it up to your mind. They're not going to say, hey, you know what? Like, I know that you're going to get screwed on this, so I'm going to get you an extra $400 for that. Never happened. Never. I even remember one time, and you can do this too. This is a real example. This was many years ago when I had hired my first 2 dispatchers. We had a tiny little office, and we had 2 dispatchers working on this. And actually, no, I take it back. This was actually the 3rd office that I had opened up. Now I take it back. We go in Kentucky. See, Kentucky has a surcharge as well. So there you go. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Matt. So I'll tell you a story. We had an office a few years back, and I hired some guys. They booked a load, and the guys, weren't really doing it. I wasn't watching, and they booked a load. The customer had agreed to that load at that price, and it was a little bit low. And I showed the guys right there in front of the whole office. I put it on speaker, dialed the guy up, the broker, and I said, "Listen, man, you just booked this load for my dispatcher. I know he agreed to this rate. I know the carrier agreed, but you and I know that you're ripping him off. You and I know that you're taking a very short conversation, very straightforward. He heard it in my voice. On the spot, he had a $300 on a spot. Just because I put him on a spot. Just because I was willing to do that and not say, well, the rate confirmation is agreed. No, my dispatcher screwed up. I wanted to create a learning experience for everyone in the office. And I had no guarantees that it would turn out the way it turned out. I had no guarantees. However, that's exactly how it turned out. The broker gave the extra money. That made the biggest confidence boost because they saw the owner of the company pick up the phone, hit the broker over the head, get the extra money, and all of that in under 2 minutes. We received a new updated rate confirmation. The carrier felt like, oh my God, you guys just out of nowhere got me an extra $300. Thank you. Absolutely. You can do that. You can do that. You can talk fuel. You can say, hey, I got permits. You got a guy with a permit on the phone right now. All you got to do is pay me that extra $350. It's going to cover my costs, and I'll be out of your hair. Clean record. I'll get this thing delivered. You'll have clean BOLs. Show them the reason to work with you.
Express your values.
Express your value. Absolutely.
I was telling them properly last week that properly, like the downside and the upside. Like when you're a new carrier, you don't have a lot of values. Yeah, you're a nice guy. I get it. In front of a broker, that's it. That's a nice guy.
Yeah.
But when it comes to when you're an experienced, let's say you have 2 years of MC, and you have all the permits, and you do all the 48 states, and you maybe have a tanker endorsement. That's also a very good thing to have all the time, guys. Tanker endorsement per year, without any exaggeration, at least $5,000 to $6,000 more.
Extra. Yeah.
Extra. Only because you have tanker endorsement.
Yep.
If you have a drive-in. And you have Advent the same.
Yeah, Event Advance.
That's another value you can have. In terms of reefer, guys, when your reefer is 2008, that's a minus. It's not a plus.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter what condition it's in.
Even if it's in perfect condition,
Yeah.
if you just brought it up from it hasn't been used at all. The fact that it says 2008 tells everything to the broker. They don't care. So know your values, know your strong points, know your weak points. That's why always a dispatcher. That's why I said, "Oh, I'm gonna become a dispatcher too." Well, in order to be a successful dispatcher, other than the fact that you need around 2 years to learn this well, you have to have people skill, negotiating skills, economic skills, geographic skills, patience of steel.
You have to be very quick-minded because you have to be doing things, doing research, looking at different things, knowing your customer, while at the same time talking to the broker and keeping his noodle going so he doesn't come up with anything quick and tricky.
And the hardest thing that this is, in my opinion, seeing like people in general that do different kind of jobs, the biggest and the hardest thing to find in people that usually a strong dispatcher has is called adaptability. To adapt on a spot. Like yesterday.
You keep disappearing. You there? You there? You kept disappearing. I don't know what's going on. Okay, there you are.
I'm here.
I know. I just couldn't hear you, so that's why I wasn't sure if something had disappeared.
I couldn't hear myself either. That was weird. We have 13 years in business and have a great safety score, but unless you have more than 2 inspections, a lot of companies won't use you.
It's true.
Basically, it's not properly 2 inspections. You need 1 inspection, but in the past 2 years, and it doesn't matter. It's not like a, I don't know, a annual inspection. They want properly road inspections. I think 2 inspections are required for carriers that have 10 trucks or more, though. You might be right on that side. However, why are they asking you that? That's a very, very good question. Let's say a guy didn't had any inspection, and their truck might have some irregularities that might put him off the road.
Hmm.
Let's say because the DOT can actually stop you and stop using the equipment
Put you out of
if you
service.
have,
Yeah.
yeah, put you properly out of service. Imagine that happens with their load on your back.
Hmm.
They don't want to take that chance, and it happened.
Yeah.
There's a I mean, this happened like 3 years and something ago.
Hmm.
There was a guy with a reefer, a multi-temp reefer. He was hauling 250K worth of seafood. Very, very, I think even more than 250, no, 350K, sorry, 350K of seafood. So very, very expensive stuff.
Hmm.
And he never had any road inspections. He always avoided them. He was always going overweight and he was doing all kinds of nasty stuff. And DOT once they caught him at 10 p.m. on the road. He had, man, that truck was a mess. That could have break down in the middle of the road any second.
Hmm.
They stopped him. The whole merchandise in the back, of course, it's perishable commodity.
Hmm.
And yeah, a claim of 350K.
And seafood is an interesting thing because you need a specific part of a policy for seafood, frozen seafood. Sometimes like shrimp, lobster, and things like that need an additional rider on the insurance. Very expensive. The dollar amounts are different. So I knew a carrier who that's all he did for years, 4 years. That's all he did. He paid for the insurance, but it made sense. It made sense. But I wouldn't get the additional riders. I wouldn't get the additional insurances because the chances of you getting that are very, very slim. And if you ever do have an insurance a policy where you can get in touch with your insurance broker, they can add the policy, add the riders, add the additional stuff on there, produce a new insurance certificate, and you go and you run it. Once you're done with the load, call your insurance, have them cancel it. Within a couple of weeks, you're going to have a refund anyway. So it's going to make a lot more sense because you're only going to pay for the period of time that you're using the policy. And they're open to doing those cancellations. Like Progressive will turn around and get you. I mean, I'm not a fan of Progressive, but the thing is, the one thing they do right is they do issue refunds very quickly. Other companies will sometimes wait 1-2 months to issue that money. Progressive usually turns around in about a week and you get your money. So you're not going to have a huge initial cash outlay. You are going to book that load. You are going to make that money. And then you can go ahead and get rid of that. And then also the other thing is Matt was mentioning that, yeah, while he has 13 years in business, he only has one truck. And why is it that they're asking for these inspections? You know, not too long ago, my brother needed some inspections that the guys couldn't book them because we didn't have any inspections because he generally runs local and we haven't had that. Now, about on the 3rd of this month, so 4 days ago, he got an inspection. And, I went ahead and submitted that. And guess what? It has already showed up on our safer. So they did it quickly. So the one thing you want to make sure to do that is make sure you sign those documents. The DOT is not going to come back to you and going to say, we didn't account for this because there was no driver signature. We didn't account for this because the carrier representative did not sign the form. They just simply will not put it into the system. But here's the thing. The ones that are dirty, like if they catch you for something, they give you a citation or just some sort of write-up, they don't need your signatures on that one because the police just goes ahead and submits it for you. I've had carriers who got the inspections and they felt that they would automatically be submitted, and then he never found them. And then when he and I spoke, he said, "Yeah, I got him here at the truck." He pulled them up, and they were several months old, so it wouldn't help because the DOT is not going to accept that if you submit it to them months and months later, even though you didn't know that, and they don't really teach you that. So be sure that you're taking care of those and you're actually submitting those and keeping copies on file, and make sure to go in after 3 or 4 days and see if they actually updated your safer and if actually showed up on there. You always want to know how many do you have on there so you can see if one more came up, because it doesn't tell you that this one came up 3 days ago or 2 days ago. It just adds a number. But if you don't know where you stand, you're not going to know if that actually had a positive effect or not. So definitely.
Yeah. And to 100% answer Matthew's question, why is that? Properly, your specific case that required 2 inspections, that's probably not a broker request, or is some very crazy broker, one of the two. But mostly, it
Customer.
should be a customer special request.
Yeah.
Even though, let's say, I'll give a very good example. C.H. Robinson worked with one-day MCs, technically.
Mhm.
We take it on a technical level, they book a one-day MC. However, they have customers that have special requirements. Like, I don't, me as a customer, I don't want you to give my loads to carriers that have 3 trucks or less. Or I want you to give my loads to the carriers that have booked with you guys at least 10 loads in the past month, or so go on. Or maybe some guy got burned pretty bad and said, "Okay, I don't want you to book my loads to people that have 2 or less than 2 inspections in the past 24 months." So probably is that what you bumped
Yeah.
into? Is not common what you bumped into. One, it's 100% very common, but 2, yeah, it's very uncommon.
No, absolutely. I'm going to actually switch gears here. I think we covered that part ad nauseum. Probably want to hear you and I. But I made a little video because I'm constantly saying, come join our dispatch company, lease on with us, et cetera, and I got tired of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little nifty little ad that we've created. And I don't know, is enjoy the right word for this? Take a look, guys.
Another long haul, another dead-end load. Some carriers are crushing it. Maybe it's time to switch to AFD Dispatch. See how much more you could be making. Tap the Learn More button and see for yourself. Spots are limited. Not all will qualify. Semi-trucks only.
And we're back. So yeah, guys, we only work with semi-trucks, so please be aware. We don't work with box trucks. We don't work with hot shots and LTL and Sprinter vans, and only semis. We only work with semis. The last time I worked with hot shots was back in 2016. So that's, what is that? That's 8 years ago, 9 years ago. So we no longer do that. Alex, give me 1 second. I'm going to switch over and turn on the cameras. It'll be muted for a second. 1 second.
Sure.
And boom. Okay, let's see if we can hear you.
Perfect.
Yeah, we can. So a little ad.
And Matthew, to go more in depth about it eventually, I'll leave you my direct line in the chat. Give me a call tomorrow. Let's say after 8 a.m. Give me a call, and we can discuss definitely more about it.
Yeah.
Because I see that you like have a lot of knowledge, and
Oh yeah.
you got definitely what it takes, and maybe we can do some exchange of ideas, and who knows?
Yeah, after 13
Maybe
years,
some
definitely.
good opportunities could pop.
We actually covered that, your guide to fuel efficiency in trucking. This is an article that actually just posted it like maybe 3 or 4 days ago, and it looks at, cruise like a champion, and it goes into the details, and it'll actually tell you that, let's see, we're here. Maintaining a steady, consistent speed with legal limits is the fuel saving sweet spot. Aim for the magic zone between 55 and 65 miles per hour, where your engine hums efficiently without straining. Think of yourself as a maestro of fuel economy, smoothly conducting a symphony on the highway with cruise control on flat roads. For rolling hills, consider pulse and glide techniques to maintain momentum without accelerating. So anticipate, traffic, idle time is a waste of time. Plan your routes with fuel efficiency in mind. Our guys take care of that for you. They look at multiple different routes. They account for different mileage, and they look at tolls and things like that. So plan your routes. And then, of course, lighter loads will save you money, but it also depends on, you can take a lighter load and get into the Rocky Mountains or West Virginia, the Appalachian Mountains out in Ohio, PA, and that's going to burn even more fuel than going through Illinois, Nebraska, Iowa, things like that, even with a heavier load. Headwinds are going to hurt you. Tailwinds are going to help you out. So, and by the way, there's Alex's direct line, 801-341-8882. That's his direct line. So absolutely feel free to give him a call. He's a wealth of information. Also talks about the, truck maintenance and how, regular tune-ups, making sure your tires are properly inflated, different aerodynamics kits that you may or may not have the opportunity to install depending on your truck, and different fairings. All those things, they do over time save you money. Not a huge amount, but it does all add up. And then finally, fuel efficient fluid. So there are different types of, fluids of different viscosity that as they age, will give you a lower percentage. Like if you guys have noticed that when you get an oil change, you tend to get better fuel economy, but towards the end of the life of that fuel or that oil, generally your fuel economy will go down. Additionally, knowledge is power. Monitoring your fuel mileage over time and showing areas of improvement. Embracing technology, using APUs, and then some of the other stuff. And so, there's a lot of information in just this article alone. And if you walk away with something beneficial, then our job is done. We've been able to help you guys out. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys, and I've seen this, and this is almost a joke that I wrote the article about this. A lot of you guys, I look through my analytics and I find people searching and finding us by looking for truck dispatcher near me. We definitely appreciate it, but keep in mind, guys, truckers are always on a road. What's the point? If you live in Ohio and you find yourself in Wyoming and you search for a truck dispatcher near me, who cares where they're located? You're in Wyoming, but you live elsewhere and they might be somewhere else. What the more important thing to do is to look at experience, look at some real numbers. What are they actually getting you? What kind of money are they able to get you? What are people talking about? Like if you guys search for us on Google, you'll find that we have a 5-star rating. A lot of people are talking about it. There's people out there who have leased on. A2C has the same thing. Great reviews. They're two separate companies, so we have two different pages. So you'll find reviews on A2C Logistics. You'll find reviews on AFT Dispatch. Some owner-operators have left comments on us. Even though they're leased on with A2C Logistics, they've left comments about the level of dispatching that we've been able to handle for them. Those are things that you need to be doing. Don't just jump in, call the guy, because he might be a really good salesman. He might tell you everything that you want to hear, but the proof is in the pudding. You know what I mean? Like we have been posting our videos on YouTube for 4 years now. We've been in business for over a decade at this point. Wish I would have producing these videos longer, but we didn't come up with the idea prior to that. So the truth is that you have to find a reasonable way to set some sort of an expectation, not blow it out of the water, and don't think that if I keep pushing my dispatcher more and more, that's going to result in more money. Not necessarily. That's not necessary. And then Peter talked about some of that. So without a doubt, you want do your homework, do your research. Don't just listen to people who say, oh yeah, I'll get you, $4 loads all day long. My customers are averaging $3-4 a mile. That's not the case. I don't believe it for a second. Not in the spot market. That's not the case. And even in the contract market, they're running 1-1 right now. They're kind of like running together. So they're pretty close. There's a very small differential between one and the other, especially at the moment. So I would definitely do some research before committing to any of these. So
to slightly correct you, Vitaly, on that,
go for it.
The truck dispatching services near me. Yeah, technically you don't need it near you unless you're a lady trucker and have a niche for dispatcher, one of the dispatchers. Then there's a story.
Alex is looking for brownie points. I'm going to talk to your wife, Alex. I'm going to show her this live.
How do you think she found me?
That's incredible. Guys, let's switch gears. I had a little bit of a fun little one, and I would hope to see whatever I missed. Maybe you guys could add it into the chat here. I wanted to look at some of the common terms. Now, some of these are going to be educational. You guys are going to really benefit from these. Let's switch this over real quick. And some of the other ones are going to be I think I like this one more, are going to be a little bit more funny. So I'll go ahead and start off with you guys with the most common one. Everybody says on the radio, 10-4. So this is a classic CB radio term, basically means acknowledged, all right? Or, okay, I got you, I heard you, loud and clear. But the next one you might not know, alligator, which is a piece of retread or blown tire on the road considered a hazard, right? So they call them alligators. They kind of look like alligators when they're all opened up. It looks like an alligator's tail. Many of you guys know what bobtail is. It's a tractor unit driving without a trailer attached, right? But do you know what a chicken coop is? Alex, do you know what a chicken coop is? I didn't.
God, no.
Yeah. It's a slang term for a weigh station. You know, hey, chicken coop ahead, you know. A deadheading, you guys know, is driving a truck empty with no cargo, an 18-wheeler, general term for any tractor-trailer combination. But did you know what greasy means? Greasy means the slippery road conditions due to ice, rain, or snow, only in trucking. What is a hammer lane? A hammer lane is the left lane on a multi-lane highway typically used for passing. Skinnies. Skinnies are not just me, but skinnies are trucker slang for tires, or us. Yeah, that's right. And then for the common ones, I think this is my favorite, Smokey Bear. Those of you guys who know, that's a slang for a state trooper or a highway patrol officer. You know, be careful, Smokey Bear is out there writing tickets. But I'm not going to leave it at that, because I have some more colorful examples that
Inventivity.
Guys, what's an anteater? Anybody know what it's an anteater? It's a nickname for the Kenworth T600 truck due to its long sloping hood. They call it an anteater. Now, there's another one's called backed out of it. Well, normally it's like, oh, the carrier backed out of it. The broker backed out of it. What it is when a truck loses momentum climbing a hill and has to downshift. The guy backed out of it. So would have never guessed that one. Another one that I like is bear in the air. Now, if you guys can guess that one, bear in the air. So if we remember, Smokey Bear is a slang for a highway patrol or a state trooper. Well, bear in the air is a warning of a police helicopter spotted overhead. I hope you guys aren't dealing with police helicopters. You might have bigger problems than just Smokey the Bear. But what's a dragon wagon? Who knows what's a dragon wagon? It's a tow truck used to recover disabled vehicles called a dragon wagon. Finally, an empty trailer chaser, a derogatory term for a trucker who frequently accepts low-paying loads. Ooh, an empty trailer chaser. So very much like the guys who are doing like the cheap freight and stuff like that. We definitely don't accept that. Almost done, guys. Greasy side up describes a truck that has flipped over onto its roof. So we've seen a few of those. I don't know if we've ever seen them on its roof, but we've seen a bunch of flips. And then last but not least, and likely some of the favorites for some of the guys that watch our videos, is a lot lizard. A lot lizard, a derogatory term for someone who solicits truck drivers for SEX. So that's a lot lizard. Stay away from those guys. Stay away from those. We'll get you the money. Don't need to spend it on lot lizards. So there we go. AFT, great dispatching and rate views every Friday. Yeah, thank you very much, Avery. Really appreciate you, man. That's a long time viewer. He's been around. I remember you from the comment section almost on every single video. It is so cool to see the same names show up today, show up in the comments. We have a lot of conversations. Alex has been jumping in lately. It's so freaking awesome. But yeah, Alex, one thing I wanted to cover is finding profitable loads in a tough market. We're in a tough market, and I thought this would be a perfect opportunity. If you have the time, maybe we could jump in and kind of cover that real quick. What do you think? Finding profitable loads in a tough market. How would you go about that? And thanks again, Avery. Really appreciate you, sir.
That's a very, very tough. I mean, of course, first of all, as even Peter said earlier, for those who were already here, depends on your, but in order to find profitable freight, first of all, you have to know your costs, because a profitable load might not be profitable for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's why, for example, whenever you guys are calling me and we have that long talk that it seems like I'm questioning you, is because I'm trying to find those things so I know what's profitable for you.
Yeah.
And if we can do something that is profitable for you, or if not, to find a solution for you, something like that. But to sum it up, let's say in a good scenario, when the guy, let's say, has his truck paid and everything, a profitable load has to be seen. You cannot look at one single load as profitable. You cannot do a profitable load. Literally, you cannot. You can
Yeah.
do a profitable week or a profitable month, not a profitable load. Because let's say you're in Denver, Colorado, with a drive-in. Your best bet is a load of energy drinks or a load of water out of there. That's 44,000 pounds
Or empty cans.
or empty cans. I mean, that's a good case. That's a very good.
Yeah. If you get lucky, yeah.
Those
absolutely.
usually goes first
Oh yeah.
because they're light.
Yep. That's after they're
But
drunk
let's say you
drinking the
bump
beer.
into the worst case scenario, find a load of energy drinks up to Montana. Your fuel consumption is gonna be high. I mean, higher. Not gonna be,
Mhm.
oh my god, $1,000 more. Gonna be 70, 60, 80 bucks, maybe 100 bucks in the worst case scenario. If you have a really, really beat up truck.
Guys, I haven't asked you. Please hit the like button. Sorry, Alex. Go ahead.
Yep. And basically that load, if you look by it, let's say the lowest cost of operation I've seen is with Brian. He has 90 cents a mile.
Yeah. No. Brian's a
Yeah,
unicorn.
but he's a unicorn that has 90 cents a mile. So barely him, and considering he pays himself,
Mhm.
even that is not profitable.
Yeah, he's like at $1.34 or something like that. I did his numbers, but what I mean is that's with like pay and
With
all
his
this other stuff.
salary.
Yeah, salary and things like that. Yeah.
So with his salary is buck 34.
Mm-hmm.
A load like that to Montana is gonna pay you like 140, maybe 150.
Mm-hmm.
So it's barely profitable for a guy like that.
Yeah.
But you can't look at it like that because let's say you did. Let me actually pop up a little bit of maps, and I'm gonna do some. Hold on. I'm gonna explain it a little bit.
While Alex is doing that, I'm going to jump in and show you guys something because I know that we're kind of running out a little bit of time because we had a late start and a longer call than expected. I wanted to show you guys some software that we currently use and we have used for a very, very long time. All your invoices are generated using the software for both the customer base that you guys receive for the services that we render, as well as when we build your invoices to send over to the broker or the factoring company, we use the software. I highly recommend you guys do that. You don't have to join us if you don't need a dispatcher. If you don't want, I'm just giving you this information. This is by far the best software that I've found. 100% free. They have a paid version. You don't need it. Literally, you don't need it. So this will actually take care of your invoicing. Lots of features. It will keep track of all your contacts. It will give you tax information. You can actually put your receipts with your phone. So you get a receipt, snap a picture. The system actually will learn on repeating receipts. So next year or sometime later, when I see similar things, it will actually pull information off of the receipt and we'll tabulate it, put all the numbers, dollar amounts, categories, and all the information into your system. You can also build your invoices on there. You can keep track of all your customers, which brokers are paying the most throughout the year. Run your numbers. You can look at your all sorts of financial documents. You can look at your profit and loss statements. You can look at individual loads, lots of graphing, all of this stuff at no cost to you guys. And then they also have other features like advisors and accounting and payroll services and all this stuff that I don't use, but it is quite useful. This is what the account looks like. It'll give you, and these things all open up. So you can see here that they have, sales and payments, purchases, receipts, accounting, banking, payroll reports, and among other things, including tax filing. So I would say use this. This is no cost whatsoever. There's the pricing. It's free. The starter plan is free. The recommended one is $16 a month, and they are going through some changes. So I wanted to make sure to jump in and tell you guys about this. If you're not using Wave, you certainly should be. And we use it. It's been fantastic. It's got some hiccups, things like that, but we have a pretty strong tech team that was able to, connect to it and use it in more advanced ways for our businesses. You guys won't need to worry about that, but this is a fantastic piece of equipment. If you guys need any help or anything like that, let us know. We can get you, kind of talk about that. But Alex, go ahead. I hope I didn't interlude too long.
Yeah, I was trying to share my screen to the stream, but I think we have to enable it. So I think I'll be able to do it next time.
I can probably do it. What did you want me to do?
Yeah, if you can open up the Google Maps.
Yeah, of course.
Because I wanted to show a little bit how you can actually see what you're doing is profitable or not. Of course, this, just a short disclaimer, this does not apply to the today's market, especially since the market is very, very volatile. But just to explain a little bit how to look for loads ahead, or how we generally do it. The the areas might not coincide with with the current values in the market. But let's say we start in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
Well, let's say we go from Cincinnati, Ohio to Denver, Colorado. Then
Okay.
we do a pickup in Aurora, Colorado, because we might not probably find it out of Denver.
Okay.
Okay, I'm waiting for you to put it in.
Is for some reason it's been really
Oh.
slow, but there it is.
That's all right. That's all right.
So
Let's
I
say from
got
Colorado, as I
Cincinnati.
said, you go to Three Forks, Montana.
Okay.
From Three Forks, generally, you're gonna pick up either from Three Forks or Deadhead to Billings,
Okay.
but the miles are gonna be the same. From Six Falls, you go to from a Three Forks story, you go to Six Falls, South Dakota. It's your best bet most of the times.
Okay. So Three Forks, then Billings, then Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
Okay.
And from Sioux Falls, you usually take a longer one. This is pretty much end of the week. You take one to Atlanta, Georgia. And from Atlanta, Georgia, just to get into a better market, you go up to Cincinnati most of the times.
And go back home.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
All right, so
We
we
have
have all these loads. Can you open up the
4,390
one on the left?
miles.
That we can see it like different for every single trip, the miles. Cool. So basically, from Cincinnati to Denver, we have 1,100, let's say 1,200 miles. For this kind of load, in order to make it work, you have to get at least 270 mile. And why I'm saying 270 mile, I'll explain exactly why. So basically, we have 1,200 miles per 2.7. That's $3,240. So everything you get over that, that's completely fine. Under that, you should reevaluate your decisions. Out of Denver, I'm gonna put here a side note so I remembered all the numbers. So let's say you went first one, you took it with 2.7. Out of there, you're gonna find, let's say you don't have a lot of luck, you find one with 1.3.
Yep, buck 30.
1.3 a mile. You have 730 miles. That's gonna eat up 2 of your days. It's okay. It happens. You got really good money. Let's say 730 miles per 1.35. Let's say that's 985 bucks. Yeah, it's 450 bucks a day. It should look really, really bad, correct? Correct. All right. So we went with the 1.35. 35. Cool. All right, let me just note it up so I have it here. So we have $3,240, then $985. Okay, now we have the next one. We go to Six Falls, 832. This one usually is between 1.9 and 2.1 a mile in current market conditions. It might vary a little bit from week to week, but that's pretty much how it used to be. So let's say you get an average of 830 miles per 2, that's $1,660. All right. From Six Falls to Atlanta, this is the longer one. This one usually you get somewhere around 240 a mile, 230 to 240 a mile. You have 1,162 for 2.4. That's $2,788.
Okay.
2,788. Let me put it here. Okay. All right, so put everything. Okay. And then from Atlanta to Cincinnati, 461 miles. You get somewhere around 1.7 a mile, 170 a mile.
Yeah, it's doable.
Yeah, 160, 170, somewhere around there. Let's say 160. If we have a bad scenario, we don't take all the good scenarios. We take some good, some bad. For 1.6, it's $737. Okay, now we put everything together. So we have 3,240 plus 985 plus 1,660 plus 2,788 plus 737. That's $9,410 divided by
43.90.
43.90.
Yeah, that's with deadhead and everything.
Yeah, this is what that had.
Yeah.
43.91. That's 214 a mile.
214 a mile. There you go. And you ended up in, some of the worst parts of the country, and you were able to get out of those parts of the country, and you still average out over $2 a mile. Yep. It's totally
Basically,
doable.
I just break down the definition of backhaul. I know everybody hates the guy who invented backhaul, but if you hate him, you're not gonna make him change. Like it simply doesn't work like that. You have to accept the market as it is,
Yep.
accept the conditions that they are, and make the best out of it.
Yep.
So that's basically how I calculate. Of course, these numbers. I mean, I use pretty recent numbers from what I've seen, and pretty like good averages and like decent averages from what I've seen from what our guys are booking. So these are 80% realistic. Next week might not be the same as I showed you. This week might be. So it can vary a lot. This depends on your equipment. However, as I said, as Matthew said earlier about Denver, you see that you can be profitable to get out of Denver, and this is for driving prices. Refit might be less, refit might be more. That you don't know unless you have a dispatcher or somebody that knows exactly what's going on in that market every second. His head to toe there. He has his head in 3 monitors looking at those boards all the time and talking with their connections that they update them. Because another thing that we probably haven't said it a lot, we have a lot of connections with a lot of big brokers, and we have very, very good reps like Kyle probably has presented. They give us tips too. Look, man, this area went hot. They give us tips from time to time too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know when it was not windy to be honest in Cheyenne.
Extremely windy in Cheyenne. Yeah, yeah. Wyoming is. I've never seen any other part of the country that's that way. I mean, First of all, it has the most beautiful clouds I've ever seen. Driving through there, you don't even feel like you're on planet Earth. It's somewhere else during good weather and conditions. However, you could be driving clear as day, not a cloud in the sky, and everything all of a sudden it's just raining cats and dogs, and you can't see like 4 feet ahead of you. You can't stop. You can't even see the lights, the brake lights in front of you. You're just kind of like hoping for the best and trying to keep the speed up so that no one crashes into you and you don't crash into anyone else. So Wyoming, without a doubt, it's no man's land. That's the reason why Wyoming has the largest number of pickup trucks in the nation. They have the largest number of gun owners in the nation, and it is the least inhabited state in the country, I think, after Alaska. So, that tells you something, Although those who live in Wyoming love Wyoming.
Yeah.
So,
Matthew W also says, I prefer quick pay because it's difficult to keep up with all the loads. Oh boy.
yeah, quick pay is rough, man.
Yeah. Quick pay used to be very good. 3-4 years ago, the factoring companies were like between 2 to 3%, and quick pay was between 1 and 3%. So generally, the worst case scenario, we're making the same amount of money. Best case scenario, we're saving. Right now, let's put an example because you're more knowledgeable in this. How much is RTS charging right now?
RTS right now is, all the factors are around 3%. Some are going to be
Let's say
2.5,
3%.
2.75, 3%. Yeah, for easy math.
3% as an average.
Yep.
A quick pay right now varies between 2.5% and 6%. And I'm not joking. I've seen 6%
Yeah,
quick
6%.
pay.
I've seen it. Yep.
So
That's the
it's
highest I've
definitely
seen.
not good, Matthew. And I'll explain you one thing that I've explained to a lot of people. There are a lot of big factoring companies. I know some of you want to not to deal with them because you want to spare some money, and you're not sparing money. Same as you're not sparing money if you work by yourself and you do dispatch and you do accounting and you do everything because you're only one person and you're gonna do all of them wrong. It's better to do 1 or 2 things at the best and well instead of doing 7 things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, if you don't like what you hear, I don't know, get a helmet. It is what it is.
Get a
That's
helmet,
the
huh?
honest truth. And with me, guys, even if you, the guys who probably are in the chat and called me in the past, you know who I am. I'm not the best salesman because I tell them to people straight in face the truth. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it works, it works. But basically, quick pay. If you ask me personally, in terms of a person that worked for many years into this and I've dispatched a lot, it never works. First of all, that 3 day or 4 day or 5 day quick pay is never 3 or 4 or 5. Just to get it thing straight. First of all, there are 3 business days, but some of them do not consider Monday a business day, some do not consider Friday a business day, and some of them might blame on the post that you didn't got it in time, and a lot. I've seen quick pay 3 days, quick pay taking 20 days. I've seen it. And you can't do anything to them because they have so many things that they have all this ability. So definitely not towards quick pay. Oh yeah. Can you explain better, Vitaly, to Matthew, what's the deal with the non-recurse? Because I asked you too, because I was curious.
Yeah, we were going to discuss this. So, guys, as far as recourse, non-recourse, I mean, again, this is not financial advice, and I will definitely discuss this more closely and review it with like an attorney or something like that. And if you have a good relationship with the factor, definitely talk about this. Non-recourse and recourse factoring. Basically, the difference is this: it's very, very simple. Non-recourse generally costs more because the broker factor is taking on more risk. And recourse means that the recourse action can be taken. If a broker does not pay a factor, the factor goes after your money and pulls it out of your money. They have the ability to deposit money as well as withdraw money from your account. Now, the problem that most people don't understand, it's twofold. So 2 issues. When you have non-recourse factoring, the factor, believe it or not, no matter how big a factor is, they can't afford to lose like a giant deal that doesn't get paid out and say, hey, we're in contract, so I guess we're kind of, we're stuck here, so we're going to have to give the carrier the money and just bite the bullet. They can't afford it because if that happened, they go out of business. So in order to limit that exposure, what they do is limit the types of brokers that a carrier can work if they have non-recourse, if they have recourse factoring. So basically what ends up happening is the following. They give you a limited number of brokers to work with. They base that based on days to pay, D2P, their credit score, which is heavily based on that, and the number of outstanding invoices that have not been paid yet. So as you know, when you get set up with a factor, they give you a credit line. It's usually quite healthy. They'll give you a credit line of $100,000, knowing that with one truck are never going to hit $100,000 per month. So they do that. But the problem is $100,000 credit line for a broker is nothing because they're writing business left and right. So their credit lines are huge. And so when you have a smaller factoring company that already isn't as stable as like a large company, they're going to control the type of freight that you're going to be able to work with, the type of brokers you're going to be able to work with. They're not looking out after you. They're looking out after their own back because they will say, you know what, we have, $256,000 out with TQL. We have, X amount of money. So until TQL pays down that amount, they're out of credit. So now you're not, the carrier is running credit checks and TQL is not passing credit checks. How is that possible? They pay their bills, religiously, but it has nothing to do with TQL and everything to do with the factor you're working with. So they limit your market. Now, with non-recourse factoring, what ends up happening is that they actually have to look very, very carefully through your contract because they redefine the terms. In other words, they're basically saying the following. Yes, we're not going to take that money out of your account, but there are outstanding invoices and we're going to basically take it out of there. A lot of these guys will have an escrow account or some sort of a holding account that money keeps dripping into it, like let's say 3 to 5% of your gross that your factoring goes in there that you collect later. But what they do is they say, well, you've built up $6,000 in this account. We didn't get paid the $5,000 from that one load, so we're going to go ahead and take that money there. Did they take your money out of your account? No. Did they fulfill the obligations in the contract as discussed? Absolutely. You signed up for it, so you're actually paying a higher interest rate on the money that's being lent to you for purchasing the invoice. You're working in a limited market, a very captive market that they tell you you can or you cannot work with these brokers. At the end of the day, after all that, they can still take your money, and they do. So be really, really careful. This is the reason why I'm so adamant about making sure that our dispatchers are always running credit checks. When we have customers who do not factor, you guys are welcome. You don't have to factor to work with us. But what I ask the guys to do is to run 2 credit checks, a minimum of 2 credit checks through two separate companies. And if we have consensus where both of those factors agree that we would factor this load if you send it to us, and the customer doesn't factor, that's a good load. We're going to go ahead and take that. You know what I mean? But if it doesn't pass, then we're just not going to bring it up to you. In many cases, like there was a time when RTS actually did not work with C.H. Robinson for a short period of time. And the reason for it, I have a good contact there, and he actually told me this. He mentioned that RTS is the only company that in their legal contract with C.H. Robinson had an agreement that they would be able to do reviews of their books, of their financial books. Other factors weren't doing that, so they kept factoring those lows, and RTS actually cut them out for a short period of time until they caught up and got everything taken care of. And the reason for that was because they were actually actively reviewing their books. Not every factor is going to be able to do that. Larger factors will, and larger factors will have a bigger credit line, a lot more room to play. They can take a bigger hit, and they're going to most likely stay in business, and not just one day you receive a letter that they went bankrupt and there's no money, and bye-bye to all the dollars that you did, because that might actually pull you down as well, and you go out of business.
And it happened in the past.
It has happened in the past. So yeah, be very, very careful, and be really leery about some of these super cheap factoring companies. I promise you, I've ran the numbers on one particular factor. I'm not going to. They're very big. You guys have received postcards from them in the mail. I know you have. I have a ton of them. They give you 2% flat rate on pre-booked loads, right? So pre-booked. What they call pre-scheduled, these are basically loads that have already been invoiced out, right? They're good to go. So they give you 2% flat rate. You take care of everything. The only problem is no one ever looks at the agreement. They charge multiple different auxiliary fees. They have invoice fees. They have ACH fees. They have all the stuff. And when I ran the numbers on a carrier who was using them, he jumped from 2% to just over 6%. Then they don't even have a 6%. It's just all the fees have actually tripled his factoring costs, and he was on a 1-year contract. And as you know, a lot of times we'll do packets. We can't even change the factoring information. We can't even go and say we want a paper check or we want to do quick pay or whatever. It automatically fills in that information, grays it out, makes it impossible for us to edit that information. And you are not going to have a choice. That's going to go there. They're going to get paid. They're going to charge you that fee, and you're going to hate life. So don't go for the cheapest factor, and that's okay to do that. Like, for example, there's one factor that does 2%, but one of the things that she told me was a caveat was that loads under X amount of dollars will have a flat rate which actually equal to 3%. So what the hell's the point? Because you might take a bunch of cheaper freight, might be a good rate, and then you have to pay an arm and a leg to the factor. So that's another issue. But then I contacted a very good contact of mine at another factoring company who's very familiar with them. And I said, hey, listen, can you kind of give me an idea? Are there things that I'm missing on this? This sounds like a good deal, et cetera, et cetera. And he pulled up their contract and he said, I'm very familiar with them. And here's this, and that. And the problem was that the initial factor, when I was talking to them, they didn't mention any of those things. But at the same time, they wanted to seem humble and so trustworthy and honest and upfront and all this stuff. But how are you honest if you're not telling me everything? How are these customers going to recommend their friends, family, and everyone else if you're not doing what you promised to do them, and you put them on a contract and put a $5,000 exit clause? Come on, you know what I mean? So be very, very careful, especially when you're new, because here's the thing. You might be a very intelligent, very educated, very smart person, but you're very inexperienced, and they jump on that. The first factor I ever worked with was my mistake. Over 6% is what I was paying, averaging out, because it was it would start off at one rate, over 30 days another rate, over 60 days up to 90 days. Recourse happened at day 91. I remember this, and that was the last load and last deal we ever did with this gentleman. His name was Bob, and that's as far as I'll tell you. What he did is we had a $9,000 load or something like that, or nearly $9,000. It was exceptional for the market that we were in. It came from England Logistics, and we got paid and they got paid at day 89. Recourse was a day 90 or 91. And it's just so how wonderful it is that when you're on a variable rate that continues to increase for every 30-day segment, they got as close as humanly possible to 90 days and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, they took 3 months to pay." Well, do you have a phone you could pick up and you could call them and say, "Hey, we've been waiting here for 88 days. You think you could pay us? Is there a problem? Are the invoices not clear? Are the BOLs dirty? Is there a problem? Could we take care of it?" No, they don't, because they just want your money. You see what I mean? So be very, very careful with recourse, non-recourse, factors in general. I'm not a big fan. I haven't factored in years, and I'm not a big fan of them. But there is a time and a place for them because they allow you to have cash flow, especially during a tough market. So I hope that answers your question. I would just go strictly with a large factor, review their documentation, get the best possible rate that you can, get yourself someone who will have a clean contract. There's no ACH fees. There's no invoicing fees. There's no this and that and this and that. The cutoff times are not like have everything submitted by 10 a.m. Eastern time, because you're not going to be able to do that. A good factor will stay open till noon. Will stay open as far as accepting invoices for same day pay. They're going to stick around. We have factors that work till 3 p.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. They're willing. They want your business. So you want to make sure all those things are in place and take everything they tell you with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and plus there are some larger factoring companies that if you work with them, you might find multiple. Because usually, when it's a large company, in order to grow more, they open up more services for themselves, and most of them have even a fuel card. And if you take both of the things, you can get a little discount. Maybe they have a contract with a line of, I don't know, a service or services that you can go and fix up your truck or so go on. I mean, I'm not saying to do that. I'm saying that mm, usually those guys have more safety for you. Let's put it like that. And in terms of non-recourse and recourse, to give my take on it, I don't have a lot of experience on it. However, I know that most of our customers work with recourse ones, and what we do to make sure that our guys are always paid. Let's give an example. Let's say customer X works with OTR. Most of the times we don't do the credit check only with OTR. We do it with our. Even though he works with OTR, why we do that? To see if there's something fishy, especially broker that we don't know. Other thing that we do, we have in-house rules about even if technically it's approved by your factoring company, we have some in-house rules that we might choose to book or not book that load. Let's say if their paydex is 50 days plus and it's rated as C. Or maybe, yeah, he's rated A or B, but he has 3 invoices paid in the past 90 days. I'm not going to book anything with that guy. It's too risky. So that's the thing. Sometimes you're going to see some really high paying rate on DAT and you're going to blame your dispatcher. Why didn't you book me that $4,000 load? Because that $4,000 load is posted by a broker that has their MC starting with 160, and he basically
Went into business yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing, guys. Same as the brokers do with you, because you have a new MC, you do the same with them because they have a new MC.
Yep. No, that's exactly it. You want to be careful. And then one of the things that Matt mentioned here, a couple of things. He mentioned that you want a non-recourse contract with a factoring company as well. So again, Matt, let me give you an example, right? We do our due diligence. We run a credit check. On your non-recourse limited amount of brokers that you can work with, they are on the list. They pass. Everything's cool. You got to remember that at the time when you pull the credit check and it passes, that means nothing. Because when the factor accepts your receivable, accepts your note, they run another credit check, and it may not pass at that time. And so that might be a load that you end up having to wait on. Non-recourse happens. This happens a lot more with non-recourse because those numbers fluctuate so much. And on non-recourse deals, they're watching them closely like a hawk, right? So if it's a recourse, they shoot for the, they basically hope for the best, and hopefully it covers. And they have good history with them, et cetera, et cetera. And if it all goes to crap, then they'll take your money out of you anyway. If you do non-recourse, they may not be able to do that, but they're going to take it off of your what's the word, like your holding account or your escrow account. You have additional accounts where they set money aside. Now some companies won't do that, and they'll just do like a 3% flat or whatnot. Most of them will say 5%, 3% out the door, 2% will come back to you once we actually get paid. So they'll return that a reserve. Basically, they keep a reserve. But a lot of these guys will have multiple things. So they'll have a reserve that they pay you. So they'll give you, let's say, 2.5% flat rate, a 2.5% reserve, and then they might have like a 3% like a escrow or something that just sits there, and you'll get it back. But that's there to protect them. So in this scenario, you don't get paid. They take your money. They limit you in the market that you're working with. They still end up screwing you over on the money that you end up doing, and you pay a higher rate because you're on non-recourse. I just see no benefit from it outside to the carrier, outside of the factor benefiting from this, because they're getting guaranteed funds. Basically, that's what it comes down to. So you got to be really careful.
Companies are over the banks.
Yeah. When you get set up, they do UCC filings.
There's an old saying in the States: the bank never loses.
Yeah, the bank never loses. They're not going to do that. They're not going to lose. They know that you're a small company. I mean, think about it. A broker can just hold on to the money and not pay you and take forever. And then you guys might go out of business because it might be a big load and you don't have the money in your account to be able to cover expenses. In a bad market, you might have used up all your credit lines, your credit cards and everything. And you're holding for dear life. And you're like, okay, any day now we should get paid this money. And then you don't get paid, and they're giving you a runaround telling you a bunch of BS, and you can't get anywhere. Now, when you're a big company, you might be able to deal with that in much healthier ways. But when you're a small company, that you might go out of business by that time. So absolutely. Riding dirty, the MCS 150 is a biannual update, so you update it once every 2 years. You just have to make sure that you use previous years' miles that you use. So, for example, if there's a there's a webpage on FMCSA that you can look up. It's basically the last number of your USDOT will tell you whether like our last number is an 8, so it will actually tell you whether you have to do it on an odd or an even year, and then also the months of when you can file that, right? But you always use previous year's figures, and you do it every 2 years. Make sure you don't miss your MCS 150. It's a super easy thing to update, but if you don't, the penalties are harsh. They'll put you out of business, put you out of service, and then they will actually make your MC inactive, especially now because as of MATS, the Mid-America Trucking Show out in Louisville, Kentucky, a couple of weeks ago, that was actually one of the things that they touched on. The FMCSA came out, they brought their guys, we made a video about this, but I didn't touch on this aspect. They said that that's going to be a major update. MCS 150 not updated, we're going to get rid of you. BMC 90, I think it is, or not updated, no insurance filings. They're not going to play around. They're not going to give it leeway. They're going to just get rid of you. They're trying to clean out the safer database. So make sure that your MCS 150 is updated and has the correct information data. They jump onto it because I'll see a lot of, I'll look through Safer and I'll see guys will say, oh, back in 2023, I ran 10,000 miles. There is no way that you could list an exact 10,000 miles. That just basically tells me that you just guesstimated a number. That's telling the FMCSA that they need to do an audit on you. Run your numbers. I mean, you're doing IFTAs. You only have 4 sheets of paper on your IFTA report. Add those numbers together. There's your miles. Simple. Really, really simple. And when they see those odd, crooked, convoluted numbers, like, 333,000 and 645 miles, they're going to be like, okay, this guy did his math. But when you put 10,000 miles, you're asking for trouble. You're asking for trouble. Guys, one of the things, again, I keep coming back to this video right here, the annual profit and loss for owner-operators. This is the case for carriers. This is the case for owner-operators. This video is a must-watch. It's one of our least watched videos. It is longer, but we go into great detail on looking at your operating costs. Another thing that I wanted to show you guys from here is this. The rise of e-commerce. Amazon is growing like crazy. You don't have to carry Amazon freight. You don't have to be set up with Amazon and carry their freight. Amazon freight gets exported out because they're a brokerage, all right? So because of that. Globalization is going to make a lot more freight available. Increased demand for goods and services. That is absolutely the case. The trucking industry will straighten out. It is straightening out. And then there's infrastructure improvements that are going to make it a lot easier for you guys to actually operate in this industry. So there is a lot. There is a lot of government support and things like that. There was a section here that I wanted to talk with you guys also. Remember your tax breaks and deductions, your Section 179 deductions for owner operators and carriers, where you can deduct the full purchase of a new or used truck up to a certain limit in the year that it is purchased. This was a limited tax break that wasn't available for the longest time. You could have accelerated depreciation. You could have normal standard depreciation. I believe trucks are 5 years, trailers are 4 years. It could be backwards, but the IRS has given us the opportunity to be able to actually deduct the full cost of that depreciating asset your very first year. If you're making a ton of money, that might be the time to pick up another piece of equipment. You'll be left with a piece of equipment. You'll reduce your taxable income. Fuel tax credits, owner-operators can claim a tax credit for the federal excise tax that they pay on diesel. We're taking care of that, right? You have your per diem, which is now, I believe, at like $64 or $70, something like that, your per diem. Take advantage of that. So the way my brother does it, he just keeps a little calendar that we got from our credit union for free. And every time he's on a road, he takes a fat marker and he crosses out those days. At the end of the year, he just counts the X's and he knows the number of days that he's been on a road. Super, super easy. Very easy. Your vehicle expense can be deducted. Your business expenses can be deducted. You have some benefits as a business owner for retirement planning with your IRA, your Roth IRAs, your 401ks. I think maybe even 403bs. I'm not sure if we qualify for that or not. So all of these things are available. This video here, the truck driver retirement, again, it's a little bit older, but goes into great detail. That's why I said don't skip this video if you're a truck driver. You really want to make sure that you have that available to you so you can get the right tax savings. The last thing you want to do is come to your CPA and he says, you know what, you guys would have done really, really well had you actually bought a truck, bought a trailer, does this, done this, done that, because you would have reduced your taxable income. You would have been left with a piece of equipment. You could have turned around and sold that equipment. You could have used that equipment. It could be a replacement, could be an upgrade, could be an additional piece of equipment. And if you end up doing that, and that's why really good CPAs, really good tax professionals will actually monitor your taxes on a quarterly basis. They will be very close in looking at your gross income coming in, and they will guesstimate and run some figures to make sure to communicate with you guys that, hey, John, hey, Bob, hey, Bill, whatever, based on what we're seeing, we're about 6 months into the year. If this continues the way it is, you are going to make this much money, and this is going to be your tax bracket, your taxable income based on your operating costs and what we have seen in previous years. You are going to pay a very large dollar amount to the IRS, to your state and federal taxes and stuff like that. So they might give you a recommendation to buy another piece of equipment, do something that's going to create value for you and also create a deductible expense that will reduce your taxable income. Again, not financial advice. I'm not a financial guy or anything like that, but there are people out there who know this. A good CPA is worth their weight in gold, and I realize that some CPAs are heavier than others. So but it's definitely worth it. You really want to do things right. I have a friend of mine here in Salt Lake who grew very, very quickly, and he's been able to stay of a larger size, and he's been able to operate and continue running his trucks, and they're profitable, and he's doing extremely well. But one thing that he does that a lot of people simply don't do is that they look at their numbers on a quarterly basis. Their CPA works with them very, very closely to make sure to limit their taxable income. And if a guy with 10 trucks, or I think he's at like 8, 9 trucks or something like that, maybe 10 now, can do that, then you guys have no excuse not to do that with your one truck. Especially when you're not the one doing it, you're CPAs. You just have to find the right guy. And Matt was also saying, as far as the brokers or the factors might give you crap, or brokers might give you crap about it, especially when you have clean bills, you did everything and they still not paying you. Yeah, that's definitely the case. They'll throw out all sorts of stuff. That's the reason why we get in touch with them. Our guys in accounting keep track of the notifications that we receive, because sometimes like we'll drop an invoice and there'll be a note because it was rejected or denied. And then we look at the reason, it says the BOL is, it's got a shadow on it, or is dirty or whatever, or it's from too far away, or it's unclear. And so we get in touch with the carrier and say, hey, do you still have that BOL from that load, like, whatever, 3 days ago? Can you take a clean picture, use flash so it gets rid of shadows and things like that, and then we get it resubmitted. So those are things, all things that you really want to keep track of and stay on top of it. We actually have a carrier that works with us now that's owed $14,000 cumulative over the years from just one broker. So why did he continue using that one broker? It's not because he's not a smart person. He's a very intelligent, very smart person. It's just that he was so busy, he wasn't keeping track of the dollar amounts. And it turned out to be that he kept running freight and he kept adding it on top of it. And after that, $14,000, he never saw that. That's been years. And he's past the point of, of being able to collect on that dollar amount. So I would say, you definitely want to make sure that you're taking care of, keeping track of all your income and expenses, and make sure that your money's getting paid. And, so you can go from driver to CEO and conquer the trucking industry with confidence, a little title that we did here. So I've never seen a truck driver in a tux or in a suit and tie inside of a truck. So I thought this would be the way to go. So you definitely, again, like right here, financial planning, make sure you understand the regulatory maze, build your network of, mechanics, brokers, 3PLs, shippers, other carriers, dispatchers, all of these things are super, super important. We're in such a thin margin business that you have to do these things, and don't give up your margin for all these different services. This is the reason why I keep saying, stop paying people for building your driver file. That's for free on the FMCSA website. Stop paying people to get you your permits. You can get that at no cost and do it yourself. You don't have to do that. Stop paying people to open up MC authorities for you, or find insurance, or do your billing and invoicing, do all those things. Save that money. That's your money. But the problem is a lot of people are cutting out dispatch. Again, you have so many expenses you could look through that you choose not to, but then you have only one source of income that's doing well, and you decide to cut that out or go to a cheaper service, and then find out that, oh, actually they're underperforming. Yes, I'm paying less, but I'm paying a lesser percentage on a considerably lesser gross income. So all of these things need to be on the front of your mind. No one's going to correct you. No one's ever going to say, oh, you underpriced that load, let me give you some extra money or whatnot. So you want to make sure to take care of your fuel, your factoring, your biggest expenses, your insurance. Compare them apples to apples. And one day we're going to do a video on insurance as well to make sure to get into detail. And I'm going to try to get my insurance lady on the phone, because she is
And
piece of gold.
Matthew also says, if they don't pay, can't you file a complaint on their bond? Well,
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
you can, yeah, but you're not gonna always win, because you need to take it. Basically, it's the same as in everything. You need to look very carefully, especially when we're talking about like everything that has a bond with money.
Mm-hmm.
You need to see exactly what kind of papers are you signing. And this is my advice, my general advice: whenever you're signing financial papers, take them to a lawyer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not going to be able to take every packet to a lawyer. You're not going to be able to go and take every rate confirmation to a lawyer, right? So that's not going to actually work. But I do agree with you, like with major documents, things like that are going to be there for long term. Absolutely take it to an attorney. When I did my initial carrier packet to get set up with our dispatch service, the dispatch services on the level I was trying to build it on did not exist. I've told the story before. OIDA, as well as the ATA, as well as the Utah Trucking Association, did not know what the heck I was trying to put together, right? So what I ended up having to do is go meet with an attorney who had no idea what I was trying to do. Then I put together an agreement in basic terms, put in all the information, explained the services, had multiple going back and forth, and then only then, after giving examples, was he able to actually create in a nice agreement. And then we went and edited it out and took out some of the things that weren't, he took care of that. We had multiple revisions over the years. So those are things that you're going to use over a long period of time. You want to make sure that's in place. But, I wouldn't worry too much about every single packet, especially with bonds, because here's the thing. The brokers don't have the right to be able to exclude you contractually from filing with the FMCSA or your surety bond or whatever it might be the case. So if you are owed money, absolutely 100% go for the bond. This is it's foolproof. You're not going to fail. every single bond claim, luckily I didn't have too many, I've always gotten paid. In fact, I will even tell you guys one story. I know we're running late, but I think this is an important one, and I think that, Matt, this is going to answer something for you. So there was a time, I don't remember the details, it was out in the Midwest. I got in touch with a broker who had a whole bunch of loads, right? He had a ton. He paid really good money. And at the time, I had a good friend of mine. We still work together on different projects. He was with a truck and my brother was there. So I put them both on this guy. They ran for like 2 weeks. He let them shower in his home or whatnot. And he, and kind of like did all this nice stuff and everything. And he issued rate cons. And then the rate con stopped, but he was trying to get into our trust, right? So like, hey, I've given you rate cons. Here's the documents. You have a packet. You've taken care of all this stuff. And my guys just ran back and forth, multiple loads on a regional basis all day long. A lot of work for 2 weeks, nonstop, 2 trucks, going. A lot of money was made during that 2 weeks. I think each one of them made about $14K in those 2 weeks during the normal market, which is absolutely insane. Light trailers, good money. It was great. It was, a godsend. The problem was that I was getting really leery because I just could not get any information. Finally, we never got paid and all this stuff, and I just felt really bad because one thing that I screw up and my brother and I lose a bunch of money. He can tell me, give me a piece of his mind, but I basically set up another guy. And I set him up for failure. He just worked for 2 weeks, ran his equipment, burnt all that fuel, stayed away from his family, worked like crazy because the money was good and they were really pushing it, and then didn't get any money. So I built a case, 2 cases, and I did it on his behalf as well. I never did this for anyone, but he was a guy I worked with for a long time. I built the case. I provided proof. I had everything. And guess what? Because he actually paid on one and had a rate confirmation, the bond company paid out for both myself, our company, as well as my friend. We got everything paid to the last penny, everything. And it turned out to be that this guy had been screwing over people for years, and he had a hookup at the insurance company that created his bond filing, and it just kept ignoring people. And he had a whole history. Well, we got the sheriff on him from there. They ended up doing pictures from satellite. He had boats he had a very large property, ATVs, he had vehicles, trucks, all this stuff. And he had all the stuff that he basically made off of the backs of hardworking truckers, practically putting them out of, and he did that for years. And he had multiple different bonds, and we would go through different companies, and he would do all this stuff. We were the first ones out of the years of doing this to actually be able to hit him over the head. The sheriff's office actually came in there, and they were saying that if he doesn't pay, they were going to take away some of his stuff and actually put it on an auction block in order to cover, to pay us and the other carrier. So yes, you can get your money, and this is also the reason that anytime you contact the bond line for that insured, what you're going to find is that they're going to have a recording that's not very clear, that talks way too fast, that provides way too much information, and you got to write down very quickly. And you're going to have to listen to that recording probably 5 or 6 times to get that information. Then you have to file everything in the exact manner and proper way, the format that they want you to, provide all the documentation, all the supportive documentation, and then you wait. And then eventually what's going to happen is one of 2 things. They'll either pay you or they won't. But if everything's clean, you took care of business, they're going to take care of you. You're going to get a check in the mail. And that guy is going to never do business ever again, because with those dollar amounts, that insurance company will either drop him or they're going to raise his rates to such a high level that he's not going to want to do business with them and not going to be able to do business. He's going to probably shut down, open another MC, and try his hand at screwing over other people in other ways. If you don't have a rate confirmation, I don't care how great and sweet they sound, do not take the load. I know a lot of brokers will say that. Like, for example, do you guys know why TQL is like one of the only companies that has the driver information sheet? If you look at their contract, you guys will actually see that TQL considers it that when, let's say Peter books a load for a carrier through TQL, and we have a rate confirmation signed by Peter Mearson for the carrier, everything's solid, right? No, it's not. Because in the TQL contract, it says that unless the broker agent has issued the carrier instruction sheet that they send you separately with all the information, that is not a real load. In fact, doesn't even owe you a tonneau if it falls through. That's in the contract. But how many of you guys knew that, right? So they do these things on purpose in order to avoid paying you guys, in order to give them the leeway to resell that load elsewhere and to be able to walk away without even having to give you a tonneau. Because all they have to tell you is that, sorry, the customer canceled the load. You see? So do your due diligence. If you're owed money, go after the bond. Tell the company, be very, very serious. Call them, get a hold of their accounts payable and say, listen, I know that you may think that, I'm not going to go after this. Maybe other companies don't, but believe me, I know what I'm doing. I'm giving you a warning shot. I have everything collected in this little folder here, everything scanned, and I'm going to file this bond claim. You guys will pay me. So instead of going through this headache, you can go ahead and pay me now. Most of them won't. They still won't do it. They don't believe you because they get so few bond claims. Truckers eat up the losses. Don't eat up your losses, guys. That's your time. That's your effort. That's your liability. That's your life. That's your money. How can you lose that money? Leave that especially there. Yeah, Matt says that TQL is the worst. TQL, we made a video about that. TQL, and other brokers do the same thing too, but TQL is well known and they were in the news about that. I'm not trying to pick on TQL, but TQL has done that. So for example, they feel that you screwed up somewhere because a customer has put a claim on you, right? There was one guy who said that the customer said that when the trucker arrived there, he had a hole in the trailer. There was no hole, but TQL didn't even verify this. The trucker took pictures with timestamps saying, where's the hole? What are you talking about? But they decided internally that they weren't going to pay that customer, but they didn't tell the customer this. So what they did is everything was accepted, documents were there, he ran the freight, everything was delivered, he continued to take more TQL runs, and TQL kept their mouth shut about it. And then what happened? Then they combine all the stuff and throw it on him and say, we have this like $17,000 worth of freight and we're not going to pay any of this because there was a claim by the customer saying there's a hole in your trailer that actually wasn't there. It takes forever, and then they just don't pay you. They knew that because that load was weeks prior, but they built up the dollar amounts higher and higher and higher by not telling you this and giving you more freight, knowing full well that come 3 or 4 weeks later, when you're going to be calling them, hey, where's my money? They're going to say, well, we're currently doing an investigation on such and such load. And because of that, based on the contracts that were signed, our internal policies, until this is taken care of, we're not going to pay you on any of the receivables that, that you're owed on. And you're screwed, right? What are you going to do? If they owe you like $17,000, $18,000, $20,000, what are you going to do? You have no fuel money, nothing's coming in. Yeah, it'll be a good day when everything comes in one lump sum. Absolutely. But that may take 2 or 3 months. That might take a lawsuit. That might take, 60 days from the bond company. It might take all sorts of different things. So definitely verify, know what you're signing, know the companies you're working with. Don't believe everybody just because they sound good on the phone. A lot of these people are just, they had past experience in telemarketing. They sound really good. And, they tell you what you want to hear. But don't let them take advantage of you guys.
Correct.
Yep. Well, we're pretty much at the end of the show. I was going to talk about whether or not truck driving is a good career choice in 2024. I think I'll leave that to another day, and I will just simply say that truck driving is a good choice in 2024, whether you're a carrier, a company driver, or a leased on owner operator. It comes down to your operating costs. It comes down to what you're able to make, what you're not able to make. What kind of money is going to be sufficient and what kind of money is not going to be sufficient depending on your costs, right? So if your costs are high and the market doesn't support that, that's not the market's fault. That really comes down to you. You should have done your due diligence and should have just stayed out of the market. But, other than that.
Guys, I don't know, if you have further questions, if you have other curiosities, you can either call me pretty much any day, Monday to Friday, from 8 a.m. till on. You can call me, we can discuss. You can leave a comment to the live or even to the previous videos, but preferably from the live. Leave a comment. Next Sunday, we'll read all those comments and answer them. So don't hesitate. If you have questions, ask away, and if we know how to answer them, and if we know the answer, we're definitely going to do that.
Absolutely. And Matt also mentioned, he says, go up and park in front of their offices building like the other guy did, and they paid that dude. That's the exact gentleman. That's the guy who spray painted on his trailer, pay me my $6,000 TQL or something like that along those words.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's the
I saw
guy.
that.
Yeah, we made a video about it. We talked about that as well. Great example. And he had like, I think 3 or 4 trucks in total. They were all going to just come down and go there, but he was in areas and they were going through it all the time. So he just decided to swing in and take care of that. Made such a big stink about it. TQL paid him. So, maybe a lesson learned from TQL, but we'll leave that to another day. This show is running way late today. So I definitely appreciate every single one of you guys. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're going to end the show. So if you get a chance, the smallest little investment, hit the like button. We didn't get a lot of viewers today. I think we covered a lot of good information. And in the next weeks, I'm going to be actually bringing in a few of our customers that we worked with in the past, a few of our guys that we work with currently. I'm really trying to bring in a lot more guests. Hopefully Peter will make another appearance in the future. And then, I definitely appreciate Alex stopping by today. He wasn't scheduled to show up today, but I messaged him here. I said, help me, Alex, save me. And he jumped in and did just that. So thank you very, very much, guys. For now, I'm going to go ahead and switch over. I'm going to play a song we've already played and in the past, but I kind of like it. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the year. Sorry, I got messages and I'm not thinking. The rest of the night. The rest of the year should be good too. I hope you guys have a good year, guys. A good year.
Yep, so hit the like button so more truckers see this and more truckers join even next stream so we can help them too.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, you guys, and take care. Bye-bye.
We've had enough of this nonsense.
Here we go.
Take care, guys. Have a great night.